I'm glad you're here to join us. And I've got one little thing I have to read first. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2022 and H62 as amended by S5206, this meeting public hearing will be conducted by remote means. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may do so in the following manner. For a Zoom meeting, see connection information below to join the meeting by Zoom video conference or by calling in by phone. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Topsfield Town website at topsfield-mass.gov. You may also reach out to conservation@conservation.topsfield-ma.gov or by calling in 978-887-1510 for information and assistance. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, and public participation in any public hearing conducted during this meeting shall be by remote means only. And we'll start the meeting by an NOI 3070864 for 7 Normandy Row, map 24, lot 73, Quinlan, Williams, and Spargus, LLC, addition to a home and, you want to read the legal notice?
Sure thing.
Yeah.
A public hearing will be held via remote participation through video and/or audio conference Wednesday, October 15th, 2025 at 7 p.m. to consider the notice of intent for addition to home in buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland at 7 Normandy Row, map 24, lot 73, applicant Quinlan. This is in accordance with requirements of MGL Chapter 131, Section 40 and Topsfield General Wetlands Bylaw Chapter 62. Meeting participation instructions will be listed in the meeting agenda, posted with the town clerk a minimum of 40 hours prior to the meeting date. Or contact conservation@topsfield-ma.gov, signed Susan Winslow, Administrative Assistant, October 6th, 2025.
And do we have the butter mailings, receipts were received today?
Yes, we do.
Okay. It looks like we have a representative, Thor Ackerley. Is he in?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Hi, good evening.
Hi. Good evening. Thor Akerley, professional wetland scientist with Williams and Sparages, representing Eric Quinlan. Perhaps I'll share my screen here if that's okay with everyone.
That'd be excellent.
So this property is an existing single-family house lot that was constructed in the early 1960s. The property has frontage along Normandy Row and backs up to a mostly wooded area that's owned by the town of Topsfield and is otherwise bordered by other single-family houses on Normandy Row. And the property is predominantly improved by typical appurtenances associated with a single-family house. You have walkways out front, a paved driveway leading to an attached garage here. The backyard follows a brick walk along the side of the house, which gives way to mostly lawn area in the backyard. The lawn area is bordered by a chain link fence, which wraps around most of the wetland here and ends right in this location here. The resource areas present in the backyard consist of bordering vegetated wetland, which is a pretty low-lying area, has hydric soils leading up to close to the edge of the lawn, given when the property was developed. And along with the wetland, we have a flood zone, a mapped zone A, not an AE. So this was just graphically depicted on our plan right here. The flood zone wraps around the edge of the lawn, and again, doesn't follow an exact elevation, but roughly follows the elevation 70 contour on our plan. Otherwise, the backyard, again, is predominantly lawn. There's one tree here along the fence, another small 6-inch here. We have a septic system leaching field here, another leaching field here, and then a small playground, playhouse, and pollinator garden along the side of the property line, and there's also a fence here and an existing shed right here. The project that we are presenting tonight is a fairly straightforward one. The family would like to expand the living space in the house by constructing an addition where they would expand the first, second floors of the house along with the basement level. So in total, it's about 453.7 square feet, and is highlighted in this brown color here. And it is approximately 36 feet to the wetland in this area, and all work is proposed with an existing lawn. And you can see that a good portion of the footprint of the addition is proposed within the footprint of an existing covered deck, an existing brick patio, and I'll talk about this old leaching field in a second here as well. Um, we do expect that when they dig into the ground, at least depending on the time of the year, they may hit some groundwater. So we tried to be proactive and include a temporary dewatering basin here um, along the rear of the addition project. We included a detail here on the plan, but this would typically involve setting up a circle of hay bales, filling it with gravel, crushed stone, wrapping that gravel in filter fabric or silt fence, and then placing what's called a dirt bag on top of the gravel. And the pump in the hole, the foundation hole, would discharge directly into that dirt bag and filter out all of the fines in the groundwater before it slowly seeps out through the gravel and into the ground. So the water would be pretty clean before it exits the dewatering area. We've seen these run a number of times, and they work quite well. We expect a small stockpile area along the addition. We've shown that for them, but that may move a little bit. But generally, they have plenty of room to stockpile here within the limit of work, at least temporarily. One unique thing about the project, and not necessarily a huge issue for Concom, but there are two leaching fields. One is a primary leaching field was installed in 1969. One was installed in 1962 or so when the house was built. For some reason in 1969, when they put in this new leaching field, they decided not to abandon the old leaching field and kept it connected to the plumbing in the house. Typically, when you install a new leaching field, that old leaching field is disconnected because it's typically not functioning any longer. For some reason, they left it online. We've had conversations with the Board of Health and have gone over the files with them. And they agreed that given the situation, given the age of this system, the old leaching field, it was appropriate to disconnect it and just use the primary leaching field right here. So I know we show the old leaching field in the footprint of the addition, but again, that won't be in use any longer. And just given the age of it, it probably wasn't functioning very well. It probably was most likely interfacing with groundwater, or at least close to the seasonally high groundwater table would be my assumption. So I think that would constitute at least somewhat of an improvement as well, getting that offline. When Jackie and I had the site visit before the meeting, Jackie noted afterwards that there appeared to have been an old shed located right about here in the backyard, and there was a new shed that was constructed without a permit a few years ago, or I guess it was about a year ago now. The new shed, as you see here, we're seeking approval for that after the fact. And in conversation with Jackie, we wanted to try to show the footprint of the old shed on the plan. So we did that and provided a square footage for that old shed. It was about 178 square feet. The new shed, we measured at 340.7, at least to the overhang. It's actually 12 by 24, so the actual on the ground footprint is a little smaller than that. It's about 290 square feet. But the overhang does measure a little bit wider, and that's what our surveyors had measured. So with that, we did try to talk to Jackie and tried to get ahead of it a little bit, thinking that the commission may want to see some mitigation for that, knowing that the footprint of the shed was expanded slightly. So what we did, or are proposing to do, is proposing to remove or relocate the existing fence, which I know is difficult to see here, but there's a line right here with the X's, little X's, that wraps. It actually goes into the wetland. This area on the interior side of the fence here had historically been maintained as, or has historically been maintained as lawn. Um, but I did find hydric soils within portions of the lawn here. And so what we'd like to do is pull that fence outside of the wetland, provide a little bit of a buffer, and then plant the area with a few native shrub species, let the area revegetate, and try to restore it to a functioning wetland at least. I think the elevation of it um, will provide enough hydrology for these shrubs, given what I saw growing in the non-maintained areas right next to it. Um, so this area highlighted in green is about 295 square feet. So again, we were just trying to provide a square footage difference between the old and the new shed, provide a little bit of an extra bonus there, given the violation. And so we've uh, done that to try to mitigate for the difference there. Um, we did also show 6 native blueberry shrubs along the rear of the fence line. They would like to keep the remaining fence as it's been there for a very long time, to maintain the existing edge of lawn in the other areas around the backyard. Most of the wetland is just beyond the fence throughout the other portions of the yard. But that was our thought process here for the shed and permitting that after the fact. I should also note too that the old shed was quite a bit closer than the new shed. The old shed was about 2.8 feet to the wetland and was also in the Zone A flood zone, while the new shed is just outside of the Zone A and about 12.2 feet to the wetland. So I think the commission picked up a little bit of compensatory flood storage, I think, inadvertently with this as well. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and the property owners are here tonight as well. Thank you.
Um, I was trying to follow along with like looking at the plan. I have it kind of blown up on one screen. It's a little bit hard to see the detail in the Zoom, but I guess could you just tell me again? I saw the fence that you want to remove in the back area. I guess that's within the wetland with the little X's. And then where were you proposing to replace it? Like if you could show us with your cursor.
Yeah, I was just thinking, put it right on the outside of the new mitigation area, right here. So
So, okay. Okay, so it's more inland or closer to the house, the fence,
correct.
but not within the resource area or not within the mitigation area on the outside of it.
Just outside the mitigation area here, highlighted in green.
And the existing fence is a chain link fence,
Correct.
and you're proposing replacement with what kind of fence?
Just to relocate it, not even
Oh,
put in an all new fence. Just slide the chain link fence up a little bit out of the wetland.
okay.
Yep.
Okay. And the other thing is, just for a completeness point of view, um, the shed, as you touched on, you indicated that the square footage is really it's off because it's a 24 by 12 foot shed, and then you have the 340 square feet. I can't do my math, so let's see. So it's 12 times 24, so 288. It seems to me that that should be corrected on the plan to reflect the actual size, because we're looking at the footprint. I mean, and we've already had to deal with one kind of pulling out an old shed without coming to us issue. So it seems to me that that really should be corrected on the plan. And then this is just my feeling on this. And then the setback of 12.2 feet, because of where the one is placed on the plan in that measurement, it's just something we can't really rely on. I think we need to correct that or make it more visible, or however you want to do it. Have a notation, because right now you can't see the one in the 12, at least from what I can see. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like hidden under the line.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see what else was going on here. And so because you're trying to do the after the fact shed, that's why you're proposing the mitigation. And is it, how many feet is the mitigation area?
295.
So it exceeds a little bit the shed.
Yeah, it's about 1.75 times the difference between the old and the new, I believe it was.
And you don't need any mitigation as a result of the addition.
Well, we originally had shown the blueberry shrubs along the rear yard as mitigation, and this is what we added for the shed issue, as that came up after we had originally filed.
And that's just more blueberry bushes and a couple of trees.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. What would you characterize that area right now as?
It's lawn. It's lawn essentially right up to the fence line here. I know
Okay.
it is difficult to see here, but there is the line with the X wraps right in here, so that's where the fence is.
Okay. So it's
Yeah.
lawn.
So we
And
thought snug them right up to the fence. Everything beyond the fence is really naturally vegetated. There's a lot of ferns, shrubs, trees growing. So the options to provide mitigation are not substantial.
are you looking to like create a no mow area? Because you're going to put these blueberry bushes in. So, I mean, is the home, I mean, to me, if it's going to be a mitigation area, it would be like a no mow zone at that point.
Yeah, I think our thought was, let's plant some shrubs. This has been historically maintained lawn. I wasn't necessarily thinking that should change just because of when the lot was developed. Um, we thought that at least providing some shrubs would be, some kind of benefit given the scope of the project is a, relatively small addition, where we're only, I think, only increasing the impervious area by about 200 square feet. So it wasn't, something where we thought giving up old lawn made a lot of sense, just given the scope of work. But if that's something the commission really feels strongly about, we could talk about. But that was our thought process.
Well, you're going to move the fence closer to the house, at least in that section. So right now that's lawn that's in that area, right? So once you have that chain link fence moved in closer, going around that fence, that's not really going to make any sense to mow the lawn. But then the question becomes, should the fence just be moved forward for all of that and be let to grow wild? I mean, I think that'd be my preference,
Um,
given that we're putting a shed in. But
just
how many square feet is it? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, just correct me if I'm wrong. The fence is only going to be moved on the left-hand side of the shed that doesn't exist anymore.
Correct. Yeah, that was the proposal. And sorry, to be clear too, we weren't intending to imply that this area would be mowed anymore. This would be left to naturalize as it's mostly wetland. But this was kind of proposed in lawn.
How big is that area, the one that you wanted to leave as lawn? Like, let's just say between that blue line and the fence, do you have a sense of how many feet that is?
Probably about 200 square feet, maybe a little more.
Do we have photos, Jackie?
Yes, I can share my screen with photos.
Yeah. While Jackie's bringing those up, I think I'll just say the addition itself seems very reasonable to me. It's it's on impervious surface. It's near the house. That's all very reasonable to me. The dewatering system, I think, sounds good. I'll look to Jackie to see if that makes sense from a hydrology and is that enough filtration for it kind of thing. The erosion controls look good. The one other thing that I'll bring is a discussion of if any condensation posts we're planning on being put in, and if not, could we add some, and then we can discuss potential locations for those.
Andrew, I saw through my notes, 3 conservation posts are due to be put in. Is that correct, Thor?
We didn't show any on the plan,
Oh,
but I know
Oh.
that's typically a condition that we
Yes.
understand comes with the territory.
right.
Yeah, I mean, oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
it's up to the commission to decide. I think 3 would probably make sense.
Yeah, I
the
mean, there's
fence.
already going to be a fence there, so figuring out some way of either attaching it or just putting a post, on the lawn side of the fence that just further demarcates that, anything past that is a no-touch zone kind of thing, is something that I would like to see.
Yeah, I think a post might make sense just because the fence is not the most permanent looking, although it seems like it has been there a while, just in case anyone ever um, takes down the fence.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just to have posts showing the new mitigation area, especially like maybe at the corner.
Mhm.
They're
Um,
nice and neat, the conservation posts.
yeah, cedar posts.
Is this the only picture we have?
No, I was just about to
Okay.
explain. So this is the one that shows the shed, the existing shed, and then you can see the fence going to the right of it.
Mhm.
Moving this way, you can see the fence continues along to the back, and right behind the fence, it is basically where the wetland is in most of this area. So the wetland flags um, are right along that area, and then on the left side of this photo, the wetland flags are in front of the fence on the lawn because there is an area of lawn that is in the wetland.
And I assume the blueberry bushes are going in front of the fence.
Yes,
Yeah.
so the
Yeah.
I think they're proposed. I don't know if you can see my cursor,
Mhm.
but around here,
Hmm.
and then this area on the left is where they're now proposing the mitigation area that would be behind the fence if they move the fence up,
Right.
so that the wetland is now all behind the fence.
Yeah.
I think I'm just in general, if the fence basically will now be entirely out of the wetland, that's my preference there. And as long as the square footage of that, is more than the shed, I think we're pretty close to being in pretty good shape.
Jackie, do you have things to add?
Um, no, I think we covered it all. I think,
Could we go back to Dora's drawing? Because I think that there's
yeah,
a kind of two approaches that are being discussed here. One is, um, go with drawing as it appears, and then, as Jen had suggested, as an alternative, pulling the fence forward so that all of the blueberry bushes are on the wetland side of the fence. Um, is that what you were suggesting, Jen?
Well, I found it odd that we're putting these blueberry bushes in, but yet we're still going to be mowing up to that point. To me, that seemed a little bit strange. Um, I mean, they certainly add value overall for sure, but it just seemed odd that it would still be a mowed area if it's for mitigation. I don't know. That's my thought. And I agree with Andrew's description about the addition. I'm not super concerned about it. The area is already pretty developed and there's a lot of lawn as it is, but you know, um, I think there would need to be some mitigation for that addition, it sounds like. So the question is whether or not putting, 6 blueberry bushes is adequate for that. Are any trees coming down as part of the project? Probably not, right?
No,
Yeah.
no.
And a big chunk of this yard is definitely, it's wetlands.
Mhm.
Um, and it does seem like that area where you're proposing these 6, let's say to the right of the old shed location, it is pretty wild. It is pretty, it's not like it's, no offense, but it's not like super pristine, like, golf course quality lawn. It's a little bit wild. So it's like if you're gonna move the fence, why not just move it and, have everything on that other side and be done with it. But
Seems like it's getting pretty wild on its own.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess depending on how close the blueberry bushes are together, unless you're going to kind of mulch underneath them, and maybe you can go in and weed whack around them or something, but it's a possibility that that area is just going to kind of rewild itself depending on how aggressively that area is going to be mowed. I think in an ideal world, the mitigation area would be behind the fence and the fence would be moved forward in that entire area. But, that's just really the plan that was brought in front of us. If we consider the mitigation area of the fence being moved as being, what is it, 1.75 times the size of the shed, is that right, Thor?
1.75 times the difference between the old and the new shed.
Oh, okay.
Could you just run the numbers for, the shed and the addition and the mitigation and how those values line up?
Well, so the tricky thing is there's, and we've run into this in Topsfield a lot, obviously, is there's no set mitigation to.
No, but I'm just like, how do the numbers
yeah,
line up? So
Yeah.
we've got the addition, then
Yeah.
we've got the shed, and we've got the delta between the old shed and the new shed, and then we've got the mitigation. I'm just wondering how those values line up.
Yeah, so the difference between the existing and the old shed is 162.8.
Yep.
So the mitigation area, 1.75 times that difference is 285. So we're just above that. If we're considering, numbers as the goal. And then, we obviously, I would agree, you probably can't say this is necessarily 200 square feet if the fence isn't being moved, if you're still maintaining some of the area around it, but you're planting something native. So I don't know if I would say that, yeah, we have 200 square feet there as much as I'd like to. There's not really a square footage value I can assign to that. And then, yeah, the addition itself is just over 450 square feet right here.
And then what's the change to impervious surface on the addition?
I
think you said it was roughly 200 square feet? Maybe?
Yeah, 1 second. I have it right here. So it's just 161 net increase in impervious surfaces associated with the addition.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong here. So we've got basically plus 162 square feet for the shed, plus 160 square feet for the addition, and then 285 square feet of restoration.
So yeah, so the numbers added up would be 322.8 increase in impervious, mitigation areas 295, plus relocation of the fence here, and then you have the shrubs. So I suppose if you're going by impervious surfaces, or if you're going by numbers, square footage, then you would have an additional 30 square feet to make up.
Okay.
If you're equating impervious surfaces to mitigation area.
Yep.
Total,
Yeah, no, and this isn't exact. I guess so the delta we're really talking about, I mean not really talking about, but roughly 30 square feet is what we're trying to make up for with those blueberry bushes.
And actually, I think you're being extra conservative because you're using that bigger square footage for the existing shed, right? In your calculation.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
It would be disingenuous for me to say that if the roof overhang still is kind of impervious, right? So, but on the ground it is a slightly smaller footprint than what you see here. But the roof overhang is 340.7. Yeah.
Jackie, would you go by the roof overhang in this situation or the footprint? Because if they want to go do something down the road, like it seems kind of odd to go by the roof overhang.
I mean, I guess that is the impervious area that you're adding. I mean, it's a small difference between the two in most cases, I would say, but I don't know.
I don't know. It doesn't even touch the ground. It's weird. I understand it
seems
affects.
That's a little nitpicking-ish, I think.
No, but my point is that my point is actually in their favor. It's that by including the excess, right?
Right, I wouldn't do that.
The delta is smaller. I mean, it seems like we should go by the footprint. I'm okay with it in that regard, but I do think the plan needs to get updated. I think
Yeah.
we should be able to read the plan, meaning
I
that if you
agree.
have 12.2 feet to the edge of the resource area, we should be able to read that. You can't read it right now. And I think that the square footage should be based on the footprint of the shed. That way down the road, if they want to do something else, they're
Yes,
gonna need to,
exactly.
yeah, exactly. I mean, and so I'm okay with the blueberry bushes, moving the fence, creating the new
Oh,
mitigation
okay.
area.
Yeah.
But it was really in the favor of the applicant, subject
Oh,
to those changes.
yeah, sorry, I misunderstood you, Jeff.
Yeah. My last question is on this new shed. Is there any like water infiltration systems? Like, is there gravel around the edge to help the water get in, or does it basically roll off the roof and go onto the lawn?
That's a good question, Eric. Do you know if there's any gravel that you put around the shed when you installed it?
There is some gravel on the front side towards the backyard. That was all, it's pea stone and gravel. It was kind of existing in that general area. So it's remains the same.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, we're talking about roughly equivalences here. So I'm pretty okay with it as written, except for the changes that Jen noted that are more kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Not housekeeping, administrative, updates to where things are labeled and how.
Okay, Maureen,
I
you,
think the plan at its
sorry.
Yep. I have
Um,
no additional questions.
all right, then I need to
the
have,
last thing.
oh, go ahead. Andrew, go
I was just
ahead.
going to bring up the conservation posts again. Do we want to discuss locations, or do we want to allow Jackie and the homeowner and Thor to make that decision?
I wouldn't mind
And
making the decision, but I have one comment I just thought of that. I guess we should decide whether we are requiring the fence to be maintained in the new location, um, or if we are just requiring it to be removed from the wetland, but not making any requirement on whether the fence remains at the boundary of the wetland. Um, I know it's not something we normally do here, but where I worked before, we would sometimes require a fence to be put in as a barrier to prevent encroachment into the wetland, usually a post and rail fence to still allow wildlife movement. And then we would put like signs on it. Um, so I'm wondering if, I mean, it's up to the commission, I think, whether we want this order of conditions to require that the fence be maintained as like a barrier to encroachment into the wetlands, or, and if that's the case, I think it would be fine to put the markers on it because it's being maintained in perpetuity. But then if we are not requiring the fence to necessarily stay there, like it could be removed if the homeowner chooses, then I think we should have the cedar posts just to make sure the markers are still there.
Okay. Um,
I think either way is fine, but
I think even if we require it, would want to let the homeowner know that if they would like to exchange it for a different fence, that's okay. I think what we're going for here and what you're going for, Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the job that we wanted to do is to prevent further encroachment of the lawn out into the wetland. So it doesn't need to be a chain link fence if in the future they wanted to change things. Am I understanding you correctly?
yeah, I guess the decision we need to make is whether we are requiring this fence as a means of preventing encroachment into the wetlands, or if we are solely using the conservation markers for that purpose, and the fence can be removed if the owners choose to remove it, that it's not part of like the mitigation, I guess.
And Jen and Dodds, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't generally require fences be put in. We would just require conservation posts to be, roughly
Yeah.
delineating the no touch zone.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's like really a flagrant situation where they've been, but in this case, I think maybe we should ask Thor what the intention is, because, it's an existing chain link fence. What is the goal here? Is it to replace it in kind with something else? Do they want to continue this or move the fence? Are the homeowners here so we can ask Mr. Quinlan?
Yeah, I'll let Eric chime in on that. He can probably answer it better than I can.
I think we were just going to move the existing fence forward and give back that back piece. So if that requires putting a cedar post or whatever the commission finds, that's fine by us.
It seems to me that, for the homeowners and for kind of clarity, that the posts are simpler because the posts say, conservation posts. And if this current homeowner or a future homeowner decides in the chain link fence breaks down, the posts are there and it flags the issue for future people that may not appreciate, and I think somebody earlier said that as an alternative, we could put a notice on the fence, but I think that it's a best fit solution for the homeowner as well as conservation to go with the conservation posts
I agree.
and to allow Jackie Thor and
Right.
the homeowner to figure out location.
I agree. It's cleaner looking. It's just nice.
That makes sense. So I
Yeah.
guess our only requirement for the fence would be removing the portion that's in the wetland that's proposed to be moved out of the wetland.
Just that it gets relocated out of the wetland. That doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't need-
Yes, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then if at a future point and the house is sold to someone else who doesn't want the fence, they could choose to remove it, but then they just need to keep the conservation posts as a marker of the wetlands.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Now, anyone else? Last chance. All right. Now, is there anyone in the public who'd like to speak up on this matter?
I have a question about the
Could
old.
you state your name, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Bill Adams, 124 Main Street.
Okay.
I just had a question about there's two leach fields. The one that is being proposed to be sealed off. You had a footnote on the plot plan number 4 that it needs to be approved by the Board of Health. Has that been done already?
We've spoken with the Board of Health about it, explained the situation, and they said they were fine with it. I do need to, the health director, John Boulay, did ask for us to give him a letter just summarizing it, but he has verbally said that he was comfortable with it. He just wanted us to document it. But I suppose it's not really something that he would issue an approval letter on its own for. But he did verbally confirm it was okay.
Thanks, Thor.
Anyone else? Thanks. Thanks for listening. Okay. So we have a motion to issue an order of conditions.
Well, I guess my question is regarding
Oh.
that, just doing these revisions to the plan. So how would you want to handle that, Jackie?
Oh, okay.
Thor, do you think you can give me those revisions within the next week?
Yeah, we'll do it tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, I think as long as we get them soon, I'm comfortable issuing the order conditions once I receive them. If for any reason I don't receive them, I would just make a note on the plan. But I'd like to get them before I issue it so it can be formally added to the plan.
And then just for a point of clarification, since I think I'm making the motion, the 12.2 foot setback, what is that line that it goes to? Is that the wetland line?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, just want to make sure between A2 and A3. Okay. Okay.
And I apologize for that.
That's okay. Okay, it's a lot of information on
Yep.
the plan.
A lot going on.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I'll make a motion that we close this hearing.
I'll second that motion.
And how do we vote? Dodd Shamroth, aye?
Jen DeCarlo, aye.
Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Good.
Okay, and that I will make a motion to issue an order of conditions for DEP number 307-0864 at 7 Normandy Road, map 24, lot 73, under both the act and bylaw. Approving the plan as revised on October 14th, 2025, with the proviso that that plan be revised further to reflect the size of the existing shed at 12 by 24 feet, and also clarifying the setback between the shed and the wetland boundary designated as 12.2 feet so that it can be read clearly on the plan, and those revisions to take place before an order of conditions issues. Said order of conditions to be subject to the usual and special conditions, including the condition that the homeowner may, but is not required to remove the chain link fencing, but in the area of mitigation that is shaded on the plan. Such removal be done by using hand tools only. Also subject to the requirement that 3 conservations be installed at the property in areas to be designated by the conservation administrator, conservation agent rather, and the further requirement that there be 2 years of monitoring and monitoring reports concerning the restoration area, which shall be submitted to the conservation agent, and replacement plantings required if less than 80% of replacement plantings survive after that 2-year monitoring period. That's my motion.
Did you get all that, Chris?
I'll second that motion.
I'd recommend, so to clarify for the fence, just the portion that's in the wetland, we were going to require to remove that, but not the rest of it.
No, right.
If you don't
Yeah.
mind modifying, if you would like to modify the motion. Just
I
to-
can amend
Yeah.
the motion so that only the portion of the fence in the wetland is to be removed, but it does not need to be replaced in a new location, right? Because that's okay. That's my amendment.
Okay. Andrew, you want to?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. And,
Whatever it is.
and how do we vote? Dodge Shamrock, aye.
Jen DeCarlo, aye.
Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Brescan, aye.
Good.
Good
Well,
luck.
I certainly hope that comes out nice for you.
Thank you. Thanks for working through us on that one.
Sure, we tried.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming. Okay.
Good luck.
Next week. Thank you for coming too.
Bye.
Yeah. We have an NOI of 3070863 for 22 Forest Road, map 39, lot 55, Roach and Williams Spargus again. LLC, construction of a barn structure. Okay.
Before we begin, I'm just going to recuse myself from this discussion, just for the record. Andrew Mulholland recusing myself for this discussion.
Okay. All right.
So,
Sorry.
Sure.
I think you
Oh, can you hear me?
wait,
you have to read the
excuse
legal
me, there is
notice.
a legal notice. Sorry about that.
Oh.
Jen, do you want to read it?
Well, I guess the question is, I had the other one all set up to read. For some reason, I had them flip-flopped. Let me find it. Is it in the Dropbox, the legal notice?
I
I think
think,
Sue
let me
would have
see.
sent it, though.
You did.
Here, let me see if Sue sent it.
I
Sorry,
think-
just stand by.
I think I might have sent it before our last meeting.
Okay.
Let's see if it's in the Dropbox. My browser is not loading right now, so it might be an issue.
I was all prepared to read the last one, thinking that was the one, but I
Mm.
was wrong. Let's see. Mm,
Yeah, my Dropbox and my email are not loading right now, so something
all right,
just happened.
hold on a second. Um, all right, just stand by, everybody. We'll find it. I know my Dropbox is acting weird too. All right, we'll find it.
Maureen, any luck with yours?
I'm looking.
Okay.
Like too many
I'll
emails.
look on my phone to see if I can find that email.
Oops.
All right, I'm in the Dropbox. Let's see. This is Forest Road.
I'm not adding anything to this discussion, but Jen, I just forwarded it to you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Andrew.
All right, let's see.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. Oh, okay. Okay. So unfortunately the attachment is not there, but that tells me at
Hold
least
on.
where you have it?
Maybe nope. I have the 7 Normandy Road one.
Well, hold on a second. I should be able to find. Okay, I think I've got it. I've got it. All right. Okay. Now I'm like in a newspaper trying to zoom in.
It's right in the middle of it, under group
Perfect.
subcontract.
Got it. Got it. Now let me just
Good.
zoom. Okay, never a dull moment. Here we go. Notice of public hearing, Topsfield Conservation Commission. A public hearing will be held via remote participation through video and or audio conference Wednesday, September 10th, 2025 at 7 p.m. It's obviously being continued to tonight, or the time the case is reached, to consider the notice of intent for construction of a barn structure in 200-foot riverfront area and buffer zone at 22 Forest Road. That's map 39, lot 55. Applicant Roach. This is in accordance with requirements of Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and Topsfield General Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 62. Meeting participation instructions will be listed on the meeting agenda, posted with the town clerk a minimum of 48 hours prior to the meeting date, or contact conservation at topsfield-ma.gov. Susan Winslow, Administrative Assistant, Topsfield Conservation Commission. I think this is Salem News, SN, September 1st, 2025. That's it.
And folks, this is being read again because we have received the butter mailings. However, we did not have a quorum that was qualified to do the hearing. So that's why we are doing this tonight. Okay, Lauren, you want to start off? Thor?
Sure. Good evening again, everyone. Thank you, Thor Akerley, professional wetland scientist with Williamson's Barrages, representing Roger and Cheryl Roach, the property owners here. And I will share my screen again, if that's okay with everyone, and jump into the project. So similar to last time, this is an existing single-family house lot that was constructed in the early 1960s. The existing dwelling sits at the end of the Forest Road cul-de-sac and has a paved drive that comes up to the house. And predominantly the area behind the house is comprised of existing lawn, which backs up to a fairly large wooded area bordering the resource areas. So the edge of the lawn is demarcated by this half clamshell line here and stretches along most of the yard here. And the area gently slopes, I would say, towards the wetland at about a 5% slope or so from the rear of the house through the lawn and through the wooded portions of the buffer zone. There are a handful of mature trees in the lower yard area, but most of those are bordered by lawn, as I described, and the other portions of the backyard are aside from lawn, consists of a shed, a small chicken coop, and a garden which the homeowners have used to grow different pollinator plants and variety of vegetables. It's a very beautiful garden. If I don't know if Jackie has a picture, I may have a picture as well, but it's worth seeing. Um, the septic system is on the front of the house here. There's an existing septic tank and leaching field just off the edge of the driveway here. As for the resource areas, we have the mean high water associated with Slow Brook highlighted in this light blue color here. This is a bylaw only perennial stream, not perennial under the Wetlands Protection Act, but is noted in the bylaw as perennial. It does appear to flow most times of the year. Has a fairly decent sized channel. It does seem to tend to dry up towards the end of the summer. And then bordering the mean high water line is a wetland system. And you can see for the most part, it borders fairly closely to the mean high water. There's a bit more of a slope over on this portion of the yard, which gives way to a flatter area up through here. And no flood zone associated with this brook either. So no flood zone here to contend with. So this project, Roger and his wife Cheryl, Roger is approaching retirement age, and him and his family reached out to us with the hopes of constructing a barn somewhere on the property to be able to do hobbies. He's very into working with his hands, likes to work on cars, likes to do woodworking, and would love to have a space that he can use well into retirement to continue working on those hobbies with his family. And originally, Roger had, when he came to us, he wanted to put the barn back here, which I thought that's great. But given the Topsfield bylaw requirements, we couldn't put it anywhere in the buffer zone. Again, the buffer zone is highlighted here in green that was wooded. It was also generally where the garden was. So the idea was to put it behind the garden, but naturally that alternative was fairly quickly squashed. We talked about some other options, but the end result that we came to was that placing it along the existing edge of the driveway here. The existing driveway comes out a little bit further. You can see the dashed line here, and there's an existing shed here as well. Putting it here made a lot of sense because it allowed them access to go straight into the barn. You don't have to construct a gravel driveway going along the rear of the house where you may be adding some additional impervious. And it also was, at least partially within some degraded areas on the property. And again, all of this area where we show the barn is within existing lawn. I should say, though, that there is a small, what previously was kind of a landscaping bed, which is overgrown in this location that stretches into here a little bit, mostly occupied by now Pachysandra and some daylilies. But there's no trees that would be impacted by the barn location here. So that was a big factor in determining location, in addition to having that driveway access to be able to go straight into the barn. The other nice part about this is that, the grading and overall disturbance footprint is relatively reduced here because, the foundation walls of the barn can just act as a retaining wall. They don't need to have a secondary egress, so they can come straight in the barn. This area on the rear of the barn and sides of the barn can just exist as they are. You don't need to grade around them to have that egress or to have any, bring the grade up to the top of the slab or wall. So really the disturbance footprint is just limited to the barn footprint. And because we're in riverfront area and the Topsfield wetlands bylaw mirrors the state regulations, we are kicked to the redevelopment regulations in the bylaw and the act, because part of the barn is within degraded areas on the property, as I mentioned, the portions of the driveway and the shed. How DEP has handled this in our experience in recent times is that they want any project that is within previously degraded areas to count as a redevelopment project, rather than that 10% alteration threshold that you were allowed to do before. And that's how they had treated projects up to about 3 or so years ago. It's a little goofy, if you were proposing this barn literally in the grass here where there was no degraded, you wouldn't have to do redevelopment regulations. But at the end of the day, I think it is a net benefit to the commission, because what the redevelopment regulations say is that you have to mitigate for the expanded footprint of the building towards the riverfront area. So in this case, we've provided one-to-one mitigation for the barn footprint expanded outside of the existing degraded area. So we have an 1,840 square foot mitigation area proposed along the edge of lawn here. And so what we're proposing to do here to make sure we comply with the regulations is that the portions of the existing lawn would be scraped up. Area would be seeded with a native conservation wildlife mix and planted with, I believe it's 10 native shrub species and 20 native perennial flowering pollinator species. And the reason we did that is because it is a partially shaded area. There are already a handful of mature trees here. We're not opposed to doing trees necessarily, but I think a big thing we've tried to focus on in our mitigation is providing additional pollinator habitat. In addition to stuff that we know will grow in partially shaded environments, which this will likely be. And so, there will be a pretty substantial increase in the buffer zone, especially in the areas on the property that are closest to the river, along the backyard here. So a pretty sizable increase in the natural buffer zone here. And we did include a construction methodology on the plan here, which provided a little more detail on what I've described. And what we've liked to do recently is give the homeowners a list of native pollinators and shrub species that we know will do well in this environment, and then they can pick from them. And also this time of the year, you might not be able to find, if we say it has to be arrowwood, they may not have, the one nursery may not have them. And, there's obviously a variety of things that can do well here. So in the narrative, we highlight a number of species that, again, should do well. And I think overall, it's a pretty substantial improvement in especially the areas that are closest to the wetland resource areas here at the property. So with that, I think I'm happy to answer any questions, and the property owners are on the call as well tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it looks like, I guess the issue that was noted for us to discuss was whether double mitigation is required because of the two resource areas potentially impacted.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I know on some of our past projects, I've noticed that they will do buffer zone mitigation under the bylaw plus mitigation for the riverfront area regulations if it's work that is within both resource areas. And our regulations don't seem very clear on whether that's explicitly required or whether the mitigation counts toward both at the same time. So that's up to the commission. In this case, it was just one-to-one mitigation of the area, but I don't know if you typically would require it to be double if it's in both buffer zone and riverfront, or if that was just something that other applicants have provided just to be safe, and then we approved it. So
Did you find that it was like always the case, one or the other, or there was it kind of shifted back and forth to single mitigation?
I think we've had some of each, but I don't know what we should be doing, because I only just realized that there's this discrepancy. So it's sort of up to the commission to decide how to interpret those regulations.
Maureen, what do you think? Is she there? I don't see her. Oh, I don't know where she went.
Sorry.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry.
my Wi-Fi blipped. So I missed part of what Jackie was saying. I appreciate that we were asking a question about whether, we typically apply double mitigation if we're working both in the buffer zone and the riverfront. Seems like a very technical question that we may not be able to answer anecdotally.
I mean, I guess the reg is silent on the requirement.
So
It's
it basically says that the bylaw says that you need mitigation for certain activities in the buffer zone, and then the Wetlands Protection Act says you need mitigation for work in the riverfront area. But our bylaw doesn't specify whether the riverfront mitigation will count as the buffer zone mitigation for work in the buffer zone, or whether those are separate things. So I can see it being interpreted either way. But I just want to get your all's opinion on it, because then I can recommend to applicants in the future and know what is expected going forward.
There's
And maybe
always,
in the future, we can revise our regs to be more clear on that.
there's
I hate
always
to
some little thing that
paint
comes up.
Topsfield's budget, but I think this is something that needs to be referred to council. This is, construing the bylaws and the regulations. I think we need to ping council on it, Topsfield's legal counsel on this.
Okay.
Does anyone else have an opinion?
No, basically, it's just, I like the idea so much of having the barn.
Oh, well,
close
no,
to the
I'm talking
house.
about the specific question about,
I know you are.
buffer
Go
zone
ahead.
versus riverfront. Can 1 square foot of mitigation apply to both, or do each need to be addressed? So is 1 square foot shared between the
Yeah.
two, or is 1
Or is it
square foot
double?
2 square feet?
I understand.
It's a
wouldn't know the
technical
answer.
legal question that I don't think we can just kind of.
was DEP consulted? Did you say that, Jackie?
They will not weigh in on bylaw questions.
This seems though pretty straightforward. I mean, this seems like something they would deal with regularly. I know it's technically looking at our bylaw, but what is their practice, right? Because we should be adopting, for the most part, maybe their practice on this.
So their practice would not require buffer zone mitigation, because the Wetlands Protection Act, the state law, does not require that. It's only our local bylaw, and DEP does not like to answer questions about local bylaws because it's not really under their purview.
Right.
Okay.
I guess I could add that, in lieu of, talking to legal counsel, I did, when Jackie brought that up, I did talk to the homeowners about, the commission maybe looking for some additional mitigation, maybe expanding this a little bit. Maybe it would be in both of our best interests just to say, here's an extra X amount of square feet, maybe close off this V a little bit and
Right.
say, save the town the money and say, yeah. So maybe that, that would be appropriate in this situation, but I don't know the answer either, unfortunately,
Is the homeowner on?
They are.
Okay, and they would be willing to do that, to close that V?
Yeah, if I can, I think there's a portion.
Excuse me, would you just give your name for the
Yes,
record,
sir.
please?
I'm Roger Roach. I'm the property owner.
Okay.
When I look at the right side of the barn, if you will, there's that kind of that triangle area that kind of sticks out above the mitigation area now. And it would make sense to me too, for a maintainability reason, to bring that line down at like a right-hand angle, if you will, to blend in with the the way it's currently drawn. It'll be easier for us to maintain. That alone will add, I think probably 300 square feet, which I'm sure you agree that the 1,800 square feet that's shown there is certainly quite a bit.
Mm.
Quite a bit. And then a few hundred feet more is, I can agree it's better. And I think for me too, it'll be easier to maintain. And I think in general, I think it's going to look nice when it's all in there.
Thor, can you use your cursor and kind of point that out?
I assume Roger's talking about something like this,
I was pointing to the corner of the barn firstly, Thor, right there.
like
Yeah.
that.
And then
Like that?
Yeah.
draw a line to the bottom side of that tree and blend it to the mitigation area. Yeah,
Like that.
Yeah.
it's several hundred square feet. It's a big space. It's a big space.
And how much mitigation area do you think you need, Thor?
Well, as far as riverfront goes, we need to at least match the footprint of the expanded area. So I guess the question is to me, what's adequate under the bylaw, which is, always been a question that we've kind of played with Heidi over the years, and I guess it depends on the project and the site, and so it's varied for us over the years in terms of what's appropriate and what the commission likes to see, and square footage and so on.
So if as I think you suggested, we skirt the technical question regarding whether you need to, in this instant, mitigate the buffer zone and mitigate the riverfront zone independently, kind of what would you be proposing to, mitigate both so we don't have to, spend the time to address the question of whether, they should be cumulative or they should be, one should offset the other. What's your proposal if we're just going to work on the assumption and not have to, run down the answer to the question, whether they're cumulative or not? What is your proposal?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, to what Roger said, would the commission be happy if this was if we expanded essentially what we did here and just expanded that footprint out here, however many square foot that is, 400 square feet. So I guess that would be what I was thinking. And, I guess it goes back to, my feeling on the riverfront redevelopment regulations are, it's a little goofy, because again, if we had no degraded area in the portion of the barn, you wouldn't have to mitigate for the footprint of the barn, right? It's kind of a bizarre thing to me. So I do think it's reasonable, maybe for the commission to say, well, this is a pretty big area already. Is 400 square feet is sufficient for the buffer zone? Given that it's lawn. So I guess that would be my argument for on behalf of the applicant, and say this is already a pretty substantial and pretty expensive mitigation area where they're really taking out the lawn, putting in seed mix, and planting everything here. So I don't have the exact square footage, but I guess that would be the area that would make sense to me as well. But if it needs to be a little bit more, I don't think anyone's going to kick and scream over it. But I'll let Roger answer that. But I think given what I've described, I hope that seems reasonable at least.
I think another thing that you could do, I think when we were on site, we saw some bittersweet vines back near the wetlands, so we could go in and take those out, and that would help improve that area.
Yeah, I mean, so would the idea be close this off here, and I don't think I saw much over here, but I do remember, Jackie, us seeing some out in here.
Yeah, I think it was down in there. There was not it wasn't a huge area, but it's something we could add.
Yeah, we could certainly note that. No, Roger, if that I can show you how that works, but
It's
you
an
know the
invasive species.
some invasive species removal at least of bittersweet by hand. Um, in this portion of the buffer zone and wetland. It should be most of it should be in the buffer zone, but some of it may be in the wetland too, if I remember correctly.
So, Jackie, are you suggesting that in addition to mitigation for both buffer zone and the riverfront, that bittersweet and other invasives management be part of the conditions?
So I think in this case, I think adding that area would not necessarily cover the full amount if we were to require full mitigation for all of the buffer zone and riverfront.
Mhm.
I do think that's a question we should eventually resolve of what we require, but I think in this case, we could consider that as an additional area that's being improved, even if it's not necessarily a measured area.
Mhm. Okay. That's what I thought you intended. Just wanted clarification.
Yeah, I guess another thing, I think on site, I noticed that there were some wood piles in the vegetated area, maybe some yard waste, and I think that should be taken out of the vegetated area as part of this project.
Yeah, that's part of the plan, Jackie.
Great.
So, are we satisfied that the mitigation activities that are in the current proposal that we're looking at cover the required square footage, or do we need kind of a follow-up proposal to expand the square footage based on an assumption that mitigation should address both buffer zone and the riverside um, riverfront areas separately and not cumulatively?
I
Yes.
personally am satisfied that you two are the legalese, so
Well, I think that's a question, Jackie, because I think that what the mitigation as proposed satisfies the riverfront area, right? So then and does it exceed it? Is it exact? Like it's hard to read, I'm sorry. Is the square footage the same as the barn?
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Okay,
The edge of lawn to the proposed new edge of lawn up here. So this whole green highlighted area is,
same as the barn.
yeah.
Okay, and so then so Jackie, is there a certain amount that we need to meet for the buffer zone? Or is that discretionary?
So I think that my internet browser is like not working for anything. I'm gonna have to try another one. But I was going to pull up the bylaw and show you. Um, let's see if I can get a different one to work. So I think we have a rule about like a certain square footage or percentage being allowed to be altered um, if the commission agrees to it within the buffer zone. But then I think it sort of implies that mitigation is still required at that point. Let me see what exactly it is. Okay, I got a different browser working. So the regulations.
Do you
Okay,
want the
I'll share
general
this.
bylaws or, oh, we found them.
So I'm looking at the regulations associated with the bylaw. So no work shall occur in the setback areas except as pursuant to maintenance or waiver provision of the section. Considerations in considering with granting of a waiver shall include but not be limited to the following. One is for lots already developed with a house or structure as of the year 2000, proposed activities in the buffer zone not exceeding a total of 5% or 400 square feet, whichever is less, may be considered only if they are located outside the buffer zone as much as possible, limiting to existing disturbed areas such as existing lawn, and mitigation is offered. So it does imply that mitigation is required for any work in the buffer zone. And technically, we should be granting a waiver for any work in the buffer zone
Yeah.
based on this policy, although I don't think that's been the past practice necessarily.
Typically we should always, whenever a waiver is required, that should be as part of the application for sure. I mean, we've dealt with these in the past. So the question is, if it's proposed activities in the buffer zone not exceeding a total of an additional 5% or 400 square feet. So how much of the barn is in the buffer zone? Do we have that calculation?
It is entirely.
The whole thing. Okay. And it
Yeah.
was how many square feet?
In total, I believe it was about 2,050.
If you rotate it in some degree, can we help the situation?
It's literally, I would say it's impossible to get it out of the buffer zone it is impossible to get it out of the buffer zone entirely on this property.
Okay.
So, I mean, this is kind of interesting because this it's not like we have two different parts of the property that are like, let's say we were altering one part of the property that was riverfront, and then we were altering another part of the property that was buffer zone. We're altering the same footprint.
Yes.
So to me, I feel like, sorry to use that word, feel, but it just seems to me odd that we would require double mitigation in that case, because it's literally the same footprint. Now, and I think that that's, certainly the regulation doesn't say if the two resource areas are within the same footprint, then you don't need to. I mean, it would be great if it said that, but for the intention of the regulation, it seems to me to require double mitigation for the same footprint doesn't really make sense. Yeah, that just doesn't. I see you shaking your head, Ben. Are you the homeowner? Oh, no, you're the different application. I'm trying to keep track of everybody.
I'm
Yeah,
shaking, I'm shaking my
Sorry,
head
go
in
ahead.
silence, yeah.
No, I just think that, as I said earlier, we're construing the law and it's kind of anecdotal. And
But we're construing our own
bylaw.
regulation,
Mhm.
and we are the ones charged with that, is charged with that duty. And the buffer zone is not a DEP resource area that would require mitigation, right, Jackie? Am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
It's under
So
our
DEP
bylaw.
does have buffer zones, but they don't consider it a resource area requiring mitigation.
And we definitely do require resource area. So and then this doesn't even say under that provision, it doesn't even say, I guess it could be implied it's like a 1-to-1 mitigation, but it doesn't explicitly state that either. It just says that, where is it? You took it down, but um yeah, I guess my position would be, if I was going to vote on this, I would say that the double mitigation is not required where the footprint is exactly the same. If there was a more rigorous, let's say, standard for one versus the other in terms of mitigation, like certain type of mitigation was required, then I would be inclined to impose the more rigorous standard for the footprint. But in this case, this is just my opinion, and this is just what, my logic here. And I usually do defer, go back to town council or, DEP, but we're it's the exact same footprint the logic to me is that we would just require the mitigation once. And in particular, I will tell you, my ears perked up when Thor said hands or scraping the lawn, because this is going to be more than just putting in a few blueberry bushes. It's going to be a little, I'm paying
Yeah.
attention. It's going to be a little bit more extensive in this mitigation area. So look, that's where I'm coming at. I don't necessarily need to sway the other members, but to me, it feels.
No, you're not dissuading me. I kind of have felt that way from the beginning.
I thought that we were going to avoid answering that question by trying to work the numbers to assume that double mitigation would be the standard. I'm not sure that I would be comfortable, kind of working on the assumption that without further study that, double mitigation isn't required.
Well,
I guess I don't know what happened to Andrew.
Well,
This
Yeah.
requires a waiver in any case.
Andrew's recusing himself on this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
Yeah.
geez. So this is that one.
I know, that's the trouble. I said, that's why I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, and then the other thing,
I want to do what we need to do to make it happen, but I want to be careful not to create kind of a precedent where we've, kind of decided that for Topsfield, if there is buffer zone and riverfront mitigation is the same, footprint, then that doesn't apply. Because it's an open question. And Jen,
yeah.
your analysis, your common sense approach, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It
But
does.
I can
I'm
see both
not-
ways, believe me.
Well, right. So reasonable
Yeah.
minds could differ. So
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
able to commit to that.
so then we have to have someone who can solve this situation.
Here's the other issue here is that a waiver has to be obtained for this because it's work in the buffer zone, and that requires an affirmative vote of at least 4 members as well to give a waiver. So we can't even, I mean,
We've got 4 members.
no, Andrew's recused himself. Am I
So Ben is a member, right?
No, not till
Not
next
yet.
week. Hopefully
Oh.
next week.
He is on the webpage.
Really?
Really?
He's
I
on the
didn't know.
Topsfield webpage.
Well, he's
That-
not. Is he here tonight?
If
Yeah,
it's on
it's
the
right
if
there.
it's
Yes,
on the
but-
Has he been
intranet,
sworn in? Oh, Ben, I'm sorry, I'm not connecting it. We only met once by Zoom. But Ben, have you been sworn in?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
The
Well,
20th.
so you're just here to shake us up a little bit today.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's good.
so
it's
we
good,
don't
it's
have
all
the
good.
4-person quorum.
So we don't have 4 people we don't have 4 folks to vote for a waiver. This requires a waiver because it's changing. So I think probably makes sense to continue this till the
Yes.
I
next.
think so.
But I don't think
that's-
we talked about to the public. I don't know if the public had it. I don't know.
Oh, I haven't asked the public because we haven't finished speaking.
No, I know. I just didn't want to make a motion prematurely. It sounds like we have to continue.
Well,
We're gonna have to.
Yeah, and I do apologize to the homeowners, for kind of not being able to come to an answer, even though we can't, vote on the waiver tonight, based on the fact that there's some ambiguity on the interpretation here.
Yeah, so I appreciate that input, but just, from my seat where I am, we're
Yeah.
we're 2 months into waiting for the help from you to help us move along. And now it sounds like we need to wait another month to come to another meeting. Is that what it looks like?
I'm in the middle.
You need the waiver anyway. And that requires 4 members, and we're not going to have a 4th member until our next meeting.
Yeah, I
presumably.
understand. I understand that's the
Yeah.
case, but that's the case, right? So I'm waiting another month.
Well,
And
I would say this.
financially too, every meeting that I bring Thor to, it costs me money, of course, to move it along.
Mhm.
And then by now, my project's not gonna be moving until, after the winter thaw at this point. So I'd appreciate if there's anything you can help to do to expedite your review of the gray area of of the bylaw. And then maybe if there can be a meeting between now and a month from now, that would all be helpful.
I mean, I think one of the suggestions tonight was to do some additional mitigation, right? But it's extensive. I mean, it's to what is it, 2,050 feet is the size of the barn, and all of it's in the buffer zone. So,
Yeah.
what that's like the simplest way, that's the path forward, unfortunately, is to do some additional mitigation. I mean, we could pull the plan up and look at it, and mitigation takes all different shapes and forms, right? It sounds like you have a lovely backyard. We haven't even looked at photos at this point, but based on what was described, you have a lovely backyard with some gardening, and so mitigation is might be right up your alley. Kind of fits into that. It's obviously not lawn. And like I said, there's different formats of, what mitigation is. So the question becomes, can we find 2,000 square feet to provide additional mitigation? That might be your breaking point, right? The other piece of this, though, is you still need the waiver, and that's under the regulations. And so we need four people.
Yeah.
I mean, it would require Andrew to, I guess, for that purpose, not recuse himself, and that might be a necessity issue. Um,
So your explanation of the mitigation area, I agreed with your earlier explanation. So we're already rebuilding the 2,000 square feet, and having to do 4,000 square feet to me sounds like quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's a
Well-
large area. It's a large area.
it
Well-
is, yeah.
Well, just to clarify, the bylaw doesn't say you have to do the square footage of a barn. If that's what the commission deems to protect the interests of the bylaw, then that's what it is. But there's no square footage requirement. So that's kind of why I went into the discussion about what the riverfront regs say we have to provide for mitigation. It's already very substantial. Could the commission see that as already partially superfluous, and we could add on to that in the portions that we described? I don't think the commission has to look at it and say you have to do 4,000 square feet. That seems excessive to me too, to be honest.
I think it's the question, though, also is what the requirement is. Isn't it silent as to that as well, Jackie?
So doesn't the bylaw say 5%?
It just says if you alter more than 5% or 500 square feet,
It triggers
then it
mitigation.
triggers you to do the waiver, which includes, it says, mitigation measures are proposed that will allow the project to be conditioned as to contribute to the interests identified in the bylaw.
Mhm.
That's all it says for mitigation.
Will allow the project to be conditioned so as to contribute to the interests identified in the bylaw. Yeah, it is. It's vague, I guess. Is it the same kind of vagueness that the double mitigation is also vague for?
So that's what I was kind of thinking, would that, if we expand the footprint of the mitigation area a little bit, and then perhaps provide some removal of the bittersweet, would that be adequate? Where, yeah, we don't increase it to 4,000, but we still provide something extra per the bylaw.
I mean, that's so vague. It's like so vague, ambiguous. It's completely
mean-
ambiguous. It's like, what does that? What does that mean? So as to contribute to the interest, then not requiring double mitigation might be sufficient under that standard.
Mhm.
I mean, or
Yeah, it could
something-
be just if the commission deems the riverfront mitigation to be sufficient to contribute to the interest.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that the mitigation, the whole thing would be lovely. But I'm not the legal ease that you guys are.
Well, it's just a
Right.
poorly drafted regulation. It really is.
Well, no, I don't
Um,
know if it's necessarily poorly drafted or it's drafted with intentional ambiguity to give some discretion to the commission.
Well, I'm going to go on the record and say this regulation, I've gone through it and it's very challenging to deal with this reg, but, um, so in that case, if we were to interpret this provision then as being discretionary, that they have to mitigate for the structure being in the buffer zone, then the addition of additional, um, expanding that mitigation area, if we feel that that's sufficient, that would constitute mitigation under the waiver provision.
Right. I agree with that.
But it still is going to require, Mr. Mulholland to
Yes.
to vote on the waiver provision.
And my only follow-up question to that is, I realize the commission may not be comfortable voting, just saying, hey, we're going to revise the plan to include 400 or 500 square feet of additional mitigation tonight. But does the waiver need to be voted on? Let's say it gets voted on the next hearing. Could the commission issue the order tonight in an effort to get the appeal period over with? And then obviously nothing could start until the waiver is voted on at the next hearing. It's just a thought. I know I'm maybe
Yeah.
grasping at straws, but
I mean, I would say the waiver is a predicate for the approval of the application.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess like something to note is that we haven't been requiring like a waiver necessarily in cases where the buffer zone meets the waiver criteria. We haven't been specifically asking for waivers. I mean, maybe we should be, but
That's
I've just
new.
been, I
That's
mean,
definitely new.
if it meets the waiver criteria, I mean, we've been approving work in the buffer zone, but technically this requirement requires a waiver for any work in the buffer zone, even if it is less than the 500 square feet, as far as I read it. But I think I sort of got the impression as we in our initial meetings that even if there was work in the buffer zone, that if it was meeting the waiver criteria, we were just sort of accepting it without requiring like a specific waiver being submitted. And then I also think the requirement for 4 people to vote on the waiver was probably intended to be when we have a 5-member commission. Not thinking of the fact that we could end up with a 4 or even 3-member commission where it's not possible to grant a waiver if one person is not there. I think it was intended to be that it's more than a quorum, but not necessarily unanimous.
This is what I'm talking about with
yeah.
these regulations being poorly drafted. This has been an ongoing issue.
And folks,
Sorry.
this has taken a very long time and we have other things to get to the rest of our meeting, just pointing that out.
So just to put it out there,
Okay.
I am theoretically willing to unrecuse myself, but I will give the information that I am close friends with the applicant. I do not stand to gain any financial, things
Yeah.
from this application. I don't know that it necessarily is a conflict of interest, but for the
Yeah.
sake of being totally clear, I wanted to recuse myself. If the rest of the commission does not see this as a conflict of interest, then I'm willing to unrecuse myself. I have been listening, but I'll only do that if everyone is comfortable with. I'm very close friends with the applicant, which is why I recused myself.
Thank you. That's helpful. So, Jackie, can you go back to the regulations? Maybe you can share them because also the waiver is supposed to be requested in writing, basically with the application. And if we have overlooked the waiver requirement, I think it certainly was by inadvertence. Because as long as Dodds and I have been on the commission, waivers come up they've come up periodically.
Absolutely.
And we have addressed them, and sometimes waivers are denied. Just going forward, it needs to be requested as part of the application, and it should be before us. Absolutely, there's no inference. And yes, this requiring a 4-person vote is because a waiver is maybe a majority, it makes more sense, but a waiver is an extreme form of relief.
And we're not supposed to do, waivers that precedents for different things coming up. And the idea is to avoid them.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
we,
so I think basically the way I'm reading it is that any work in the buffer zone or any resource area, or no, in the setback area, um, requires, unless it's maintenance work, requires a waiver, which I think when I came on, it didn't seem to me like we were discussing waivers on every project within the buffer zone. So I may have incorrectly assumed that we were sort of just informally um, just going through the process of deciding whether to approve a project rather than specifically asking for a waiver in those cases. Sometimes, oftentimes it'll just be in the narrative that, oh, like we are requesting a waiver for such and such activity. It's not necessarily a detailed item, but it's often thrown into the narrative that, oh, we were requesting a waiver, that the applicant will include that in, but um, I'm not sure what we should be looking for in terms of the waiver. And the regulations seem to say that any work in the buffer zone that's not maintenance would require a waiver.
well, this specific carve outs for when you don't need a waiver, right? For lots already developed with an existing home, commercial building, or other permanent structure as of May 2, 2000, proposed activities in the buffer zone not exceeding a total of an additional 5% or 400 square feet, whichever is less. So in this case, we have a pre-existing lot that's been developed, but we have more than 400 square feet that's being developed in the buffer zone. So that it's an exception to the waiver requirement, but because of the 400 square feet, it's triggering the waiver.
So I read that personally, I read that as saying where it says considerations in association with the granting of a waiver shall include, and it includes that one as part A. To me, that reads that part A with the 5% or 400 square feet is something we can consider when deciding whether to grant a waiver is whether or not it meets that criteria. But I've been running with the assumption that if it meets that criteria, that we've historically been considering that as not requiring necessarily a waiver, but the regulation seems to be saying to me that it's just something we consider when we're granting a waiver, like it's a reason we would grant a waiver, if that makes sense.
Can we take a step back? So I'm looking at the bylaws, and the waiver provisions are the commission waiving the application of regulation. And many, if not most, of the commission meetings that I've participated in have been, regarding applying the regulations. So why is a waiver needed in this particular instance? What regulation are we waiving?
It's just work in
No
a
work shall
work.
occur in the setback areas.
If I unrecuse myself, then we can get past this. And I'm willing to do that. I just want to put the information out there. Again, I don't think there's a true conflict of
I'm
interest
fine
here.
with that, Andrew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrew, you're not getting
Yeah.
paid, correct?
I am not.
Okay,
You're not
so
getting
let's
gift.
move on for now, maybe if Dodds
Well,
Yeah.
agrees as chair, and then we can. This is definitely a discussion we should have about the waivers in the future.
Yeah.
I agree, but I
So-
think we should get on with this. When
Okay.
Andrew's speaking, let's make it whatever decision we make and move on to the next people.
Okay. So then I will come back on to be able to vote?
Yeah. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so just for the record, I was listening to the entire conversation while I was recused.
Yes.
But I am coming back into the discussion with the caveat that I am close friends with the applicant, but do not stand for any economic or financial gain from this project.
Right.
Okay.
Go ahead. What's your 2 cents, Andrew?
I think in terms of the mitigation, the discussion that was had makes sense to me. I do think that the double mitigation is a lot. I do think that adding in that additional potentially 300 or 400 square feet, my interpretation would be we have to do 1-to-1 for riverfront because that's what that bylaw exactly says. But the buffer zone, our bylaw, is less specific. There's some form of remediation or reciprocation. I'm blanking on the word right now. I think that's sufficient for me.
You cut out
So,
a little bit.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Of course
you
I did.
did. At the end, a lot.
So I think that we are getting the 1-to-1, what's the word, remediation for the riverfront law.
Right.
And then our bylaw does not explicitly state how much mitigation is required. It just implies that some mitigation is required. And I
Yeah.
think adding that 300 or 400 square feet of additional, plus the fact that these are exactly overlapping, I think makes sense. So essentially, with the additional mitigation, kind of taking that corner in, the removal of the bittersweet, and the removal of the wood piles, I think the sum of all of that together, mitigates sufficiently for the buffer zone. That's my opinion.
And I would have to say I agree with Andrew, basically. I just don't see the point to it.
I mean, I
Well-
think we can go forward with asking about clarifying this and potentially, I mean, sounds like from Jen's point, the bylaw needs and the regulations need to be clarified in many ways. But I don't think that we should make this applicant wait or have any additional economic requirements from coming to an additional meeting and waiting for us to figure things out.
And I guarantee you, no matter how much you fix the bylaws or whatever, there's still going to be an exception or something that doesn't make sense. It's very difficult.
I've said my piece, I think. So yeah.
I'm just looking at the regulation.
I will be out of the room less than a minute. I'm going to get my phone back because I really think the timer should be set.
So we have until Dodds comes back to make any
Okay.
final decisions.
Hmm. All right, I'll wait till.
I'm back.
Okay, so this is just my opinion. I do believe that as the regulations are written, that a waiver is required. It seems clear to me. It says no work shall occur in the setback areas except as provided pursuant to paragraph G, maintenance. Maintenance deals with that particular paragraph. Paragraph G deals with drainage easements and road drainage structures, that kind of thing that you're going to need to regularly clear out. And so that is one situation in which you can do work in the setback area. The other exception is if you obtain a waiver. Okay, because the blanket rule is you cannot do work in the setback area unless it's maintenance or you have a waiver. Then there are these three criteria that kind of loosen the requirements under the waiver criteria if these situations occur. So, for example, for lots already developed with an existing house, which is what we have, and as of May 2nd, 2000, we have that. This is the structure's been there for before 2000. And if proposed activities in the buffer zone not exceeding a total of an additional 5% or 400 square feet, whichever is less, of the buffer zone may be considered only if the proposed activities are located outside the buffer zone as much as possible. The activities are limited to already disturbed areas. Mitigation is offered. So we know that this is beyond the 400 square feet. So it doesn't fall under that particular category then. It's, because that would allow you, if it was only 400 square feet, it's a nominal change of the buffer zone. And so then we only really care about limiting that activity, limiting the disturbance, and offering mitigation an undisclosed amount. Then the next one is for lots in existence but not developed as of May 2nd, 2000, so that doesn't apply. And then there's another criteria for newly formed lots. So I think we disregard that special criteria because we're beyond the 400 square feet. So then we go back down to the actual waiver section, and it says the commission may, by affirmative vote of at least 4 of the members present, waive the application of one or more of the regulations contained above of this section when, upon consideration of the particular case and when the waiver request has been submitted in writing addressing the 4 criteria, and the commission finds that, and then so it goes into the criteria. So I'm assuming there is no waiver request, and and that the application doesn't go through the criteria. So that might be one procedural hurdle that we're dealing with right now. So then we go through the criteria, and it's number 1, there are no alternatives, or A rather, there are no alternatives that would allow a project to proceed in compliance with the regulations. It's going to be really a challenge to satisfy that one. There are no alternatives that would allow the project to proceed. Let's see.
There's nowhere else on the property that this
That's
structure
true.
was built.
Yeah, fair enough. Mitigating measures, because the whole thing is in the buffer zone, the whole barn.
And basically the entire property.
And
So
we're
there's
attaching it to the house. Okay.
Yep.
Mitigating measures are proposed that will allow the project to be conditioned so as contribute to the interest identified in the bylaw. So I think the mitigation area clearly, it clearly covers that. Okay. At least in my opinion.
Yep.
Where alteration of wetland, bank, land underwater, or body of water is proposed, we're not proposing that, so we don't need to talk about that. Okay.
Great.
Then it says the waiver is necessary to accommodate an overriding public interest, or that is necessary to avoid an order that so restricts the use of the property as to constitute. Who's laughing? I know, an unconstitutional taking.
Sorry.
I get it.
Yeah,
Fourth Amendment.
Yes, unreasonable taking without compensation, just compensation.
Yeah.
So if we don't give you the waiver, you can't use the property. That's the whole thing. And obviously you're using the property, it's a residence. So that's not gonna happen, but the question is, does the waiver accommodate an overriding public interest? I mean,
Well, so just to be clear,
yeah.
every single project that comes before the commission is technically supposed to request a waiver.
Mhm.
We,
If it's within a buffer zone, if it's looking to alter, and it's beyond
That's right.
400 square feet, if it's triggering one of these situations.
I don't think the square footage threshold actually, like Jackie mentioned, I think it's irrespective of that. But that's a consideration. But like I know we've sometimes and I know most projects we've done in Topsfield, it never gets voted on the waiver technically. Like we don't technically request it a lot of times. It's always been like do what you're supposed to do in compliance with the regulations, no disturbance of anything outside of lawn, maximum feasible compliance, mitigation. I guess I'm just confused because every single project would need to have an overriding public interest in the buffer zone because they would all need to request a waiver. I don't think that, like, I know I've had that discussion with Heidi before, because that would mean no project would be approved ever, essentially, unless it's a taking, which is obviously a big deal. It's a high bar to meet.
Right, this has gone on for almost an hour. I suggest one of two things. Either you table it until we finish up the rest of the things that people have been waiting almost 2 hours to go through and come back to this, or we put it ahead another month. I'm sorry, but it's just not fair to other people.
I mean, I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, it sucks to go to public hearings because you get in the queue and it is what it is. You know, it's like they're messy, but I totally respect the other people that are here.
But this isn't like we're
We've gone
trying-
down a rabbit hole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we're discussing things that we don't require other people to do right now.
I gotta disagree with that statement because
Okay.
I don't think it's true. We've done waivers plenty in the past, so I disagree with that statement.
Well, there was
Absolutely.
just and
Yeah.
respectfully, Jen, the
Yeah.
thing that we discussed right before this, we did not vote on a waiver, and there was work being done in the buffer zone.
It was work that was already done and we were having them pull out. It was basically mitigation work.
My understanding was that the addition was in the buffer zone. So I mean, we literally in the previous item did not require us specifically voting on this. They might have submitted a waiver application. I don't know, and we voted on that, by gathering it all up. But that was not an explicit discussion, hour and a half ago. And again,
Well, I mean, what do
respectfully,
you
Jen,
guys
I'm not.
suggest? Yeah, no, I get it. What do you suggest here? I guess for the point of being fairly and even-handed, we, I guess, have to disregard a waiver in this provision, which maybe is the appropriate course, but I certainly wouldn't take that at the next meeting for sure, because this is certainly something that,
Let's come back to it, Jen.
no, I understand that, but this is not something previously we allowed to happen. We've talked about waivers plenty of times. So
Agreed.
we need to kind of revisit, this is a problem.
I
the way
agree
look
with
at it.
you there. I don't want undue burden onto this applicant that we.
That the same, yeah, it's frustrating because it just is. It's very frustrating. So the question is whether or not these folks need a waiver or not. And are we going to vote to just allow the waiver so that we um, can get over this piece and vote on the application? Those activities in the buffer zone.
Yeah, I mean,
additional.
if they had submitted an application for a waiver, quote unquote, on time for this, would we be going forward with approving that? Potentially, yes. Sounds like. So if this is a administrative issue of paperwork was not technically submitted, is there a way that we can get around that from a procedural standpoint, that we would approve a waiver that maybe needs to be submitted over the next week or two, or the next couple days, and we can approve that, assuming that the work is exactly as described in the current application. And more than me,
Yeah.
as I'm not. I don't know if that's possible. I'm just trying to problem solve here.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is just a really badly drafted waiver. I mean, maybe if we were to look at this and, I don't want to like bend the regulations to the application. That's not my intent. But if we look at the buffer zone, if we look at the section that this waiver, can you put it back up on the screen, Jackie? On
That
page
was me.
1006 at the bottom.
That was me.
Oh, that was you, Maureen?
Yeah, I'll put it back up.
Thanks, Maureen.
Oh, I have it.
So if we look at subsection E right here, it talks about buffer zones, but then it gets into sort of specific aspects of buffer zones or specific setback areas. And if you go down to the next page, A, B, and C are very specific setback areas.
Oh, okay.
And then
Right,
if we
right.
go
Vernal
down,
pools, freshwater, downhill boundary. So a
Okay.
setback is different from excuse me,
a buffer zone, well, a buffer
buffer
zone
zone.
has a setback too,
Right,
right? But these are specifically carved out setback areas,
right.
and we're
And they're
not.
given separate treatment. And the waiver is required for set work and setback areas, not boundaries, not necessarily boundaries where they don't overlap.
Yeah, I could make an argument that this doesn't apply to just the typical buffer zone setback area, that it's very poorly drafted, because clearly buffer zone is, if you look further up in the regulation, buffer zones have setback areas, but it seems to me that they're carving out specific setback areas.
With
And
special
so if we
treatment.
apply that logic, then we could say that a waiver is not required if we apply that logic to this situation.
Well,
Right.
I think most buffer zones are within 100 feet of the boundary of a freshwater wetland, which is a setback area. So I think this pretty much covers most buffer zone areas.
But are we close to a freshwater wetland? Are we that close? 100 feet?
Does bordering vegetated wetland count as freshwater wetland? I would assume so, but
I don't think this is bank, body of water.
I think
Freshwater.
it's a bordering vegetated wetland, which I would think is a freshwater
Yeah,
wetland.
yeah.
So I feel like this is just referring to,
No, they're defined terms.
do we define freshwater wetland?
Yep, they're capitalized.
Sorry, folks, just hanging a little bit longer. We're trying to get.
Yeah, and really, kind of be generous here because everyone here is a volunteer. And this is not our, professional area of expertise. And we're just trying to get it right.
Mhm.
Yeah, the buffer zone is defined as a resource area that extends 100 feet horizontally outward upland from the boundary of freshwater wetlands, bodies of water, including vernal pools, land underwater, and banks. And then if we look at this, it seems to be buffer zone.
Yeah.
I don't know how to.
I mean, I would recommend just making a decision based on how we believe this project affects the buffer zone and meets the intent of our past precedent for now, and then revisiting it later, but it's up to you all.
Should we have a special meeting next week to address some of the substantive issues?
I'll be away, but you can have it. So you're going to lose one commissioner.
We need 4 people
Well,
to
Ben's on.
approve the
Ben's
waiver.
back
So
and
Ben is active as of the 20th, which is next Monday.
I think we only need 3 for a special meeting, but if we're just discussing our regulations. But if we are continuing the hearing to that date, then we do need the 4 if it's a waiver.
we're volunteers. We're just lucky enough to have 2 lawyers on the committee. Okay?
I am not providing legal advice.
Exactly.
No,
Ditto.
no, no. But your head still thinks that way. Okay? I realize you're not doing any legal advice, but your head is geared that way. And the rest of us are not. So maybe it should go to the town.
I would propose we have a special meeting to kind of flush out some of the substance questions that we've been kicking around tonight to bring things into focus. As far as, Andrew's recommendation that kind of standing on precedent that, we could, present a motion to move this forward. I'm on the fence for that.
I know you're uncomfortable with that. What do you think about getting the town? I know it'll cost some more money, but
I think that
think-
we could save money for the town if we have a special meeting and we identify these are where we have questions. This is the bylaw, this is the regulation. Help us understand it for going forward. I think that focusing the issues that we need legal advice on
Mhm.
will help save fees.
Wouldn't it help if someone from MAC or someone came to help you just go through this stuff?
We've been all over the place tonight.
I
Yeah,
think
Yeah.
I think that we unfortunately, I think because of the other application tonight, it's really put us in a quandary. I think that we just need to vote on this application, and I think we do need to have a special meeting. Unfortunately, we can't. I think we can't alter the regulations without publicizing and going
But we're
through that
looking to
rigor.
interpret them, not alter them.
No, no, no. I know, but my point is that
Oh, act outside them.
we need to encapsulate this at this meeting and move on and have a plan to resolve this as quickly as possible because it's clearly an issue. But I think at this meeting, because of the other application and acting in a consistent manner, I think we need to deal with it and
Yeah,
like I said, I think we need to have, if it's in 2 weeks, whatever, anybody that comes with an application that looks to alter something, it has to be scrutinized until our regulation gets altered. But
Right.
this is problematic. I think it's just because of the other application that I mean, unfortunately, we are volunteers, like Dodd said. We're looking for folks to submit an application that requests the necessary relief. Hopefully we don't commit oversights, but tonight, I think because of the other existence of the other application, it clearly seems to be an oversight. So I'm willing to move forward. I think
Yeah,
it's in the interest of
I've
the
yet to
commission.
ask the public their thoughts
Sure.
also.
Okay, good
Yeah.
thinking.
Is that all right with you if I ask the public?
Fine with me.
Okay, that was a no.
Oh, no, I'm not. It's not no for me.
No, not
I'm-
you, Maureen.
Oh,
Oh.
Maureen,
Yes, of
Oh,
course.
that is-
Ask the
oh.
public for their comments.
Yes, all right. Is there anyone from the public who has any comments on this situation?
on the application, not necessarily.
I meant application. Yeah. That's what, sorry, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, then. No one answered. Should we go ahead and have a motion to close the hearing and have a vote?
I think that we have to vote on whether or not the waiver is necessary first. I believe that's the process that we do before we
Uh,
close the hearing.
Don't know.
I think that's how we've handled it before. We voted on whether or not the waiver is just necessary.
I
But
Okay.
I guess we could
I
close.
can't recall, Jen.
It's been a while, so let's Why don't we just, I'll make a motion that we close the hearing anyway. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
How do we vote? Dodge Shamrock, aye.
Jen DeCarlo, aye.
Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Warren Bresnan, aye.
Okay, so the next piece of this is going to be voting on whether or not a waiver is required. So keep that in mind when I make the motion. The issue before the Conservation Commission is whether, actually, hold on, let me go back to my, sorry, let me back up for a minute. Those regulations, nightmare to read. I don't even know what section. I'm not even gonna refer. Okay, so whether or not, okay, I'm gonna change that, sorry. I will make a motion. Okay, so I'm just gonna remind you again, just one more time. I'm going to make a motion on whether or not a motion to grant a waiver. But you may not agree that a waiver is necessary under these circumstances. Are we all on the same page? Do we understand how the vote works? Yes or no? Yes, fine. You will vote however you want, but I just want to make sure that I'm clear on how I'm making this motion. So, I am making a motion that we grant a waiver from the Conservation Commission regulations, that's subsection little I, with respect to notice of intent 307-086, I'm sorry, 0863 for 22 Forest Road, map 39, lot 55, for the construction of a barn structure. That is my motion.
I'll second that motion.
And how do we vote? Dodge Shamrock, aye, I hope.
Jen DeCarlo, no. It's okay. Just go with it.
Go ahead.
Andrew Mulholland, no.
Doesn't matter at this point.
Okay.
Maureen,
Right.
did you want to vote?
No, I'm gonna pass on the vote.
Okay.
It's not.
Okay.
Okay. So, well, so we said that there's no vote, no waiver required, but we have a split vote. So we're not granting a waiver. We have, is it?
We're
I guess we have a
essentially waiving we're interpreting or waiving the waiver.
Yeah, we're saying no waiver is required, so we don't need to vote on a waiver. So I think we were 2-1, and then Maureen abstained.
Yeah.
Okay, so no waivers required. We're hoping we're doing this right. Sorry, members of the public. It's a complicated regulation. Okay, so therefore, to be clear on this next motion, right? It's that the motion is concerning a notice of intent that the mitigation area that's proposed on the plan, including the description that lawn area will be scraped and replanted as depicted on that plan.
Wait, are you talking about the corner that goes to the end of the barn?
I'm just talking about the mitigation that's as proposed. If they, I
Okay.
mean, they did,
Okay.
they did offer to extend that
Yeah.
area, and I think that we should include that. So,
Yeah, I agree.
and then what else is on here? Sorry, we just have to get this right so that you guys, if we approve it, that you're able to move forward.
You started the motion, or you just
I'm
formulating
just
it?
talking out loud for a second, Chris. Sorry, I apologize. Just hang in there for a second. I'm just trying to work through this. So, just to be clear, guys, so the mitigation area would be extended. The wood piles and yard waste that are in the vegetarian areas, they would be removed.
Yeah, that's part of it.
And
Additional condition for invasives.
yes, sorry. Invasive bittersweet vines will be removed using hand tools. 2-year monitoring reports on the rest. I'm not making a motion. I'm just discussing out loud so I don't miss anything.
Okay.
2 years of monitoring reports on restoration area as amended, to be submitted to the conservation agent. Replacement plantings required if less than 80% of replacement plantings survive. 2 conservation markers. Anything else, folks?
I think you got it all.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna make that motion now. I will make a motion that we issue order of conditions for notice of intent 3070863. That's for 22 Forest Road, map 39, lot 55, for construction of a barn structure. With the usual and special conditions, including a requirement that 2 conservation markers be installed along the edge of the restoration area, that the restoration area be extended as discussed at this meeting, that the invasive bittersweet vines that were discussed be removed using hand tools, that the 2 years of monitoring reports on the restoration area be submitted to the conservation agent, that replacement plantings be required if less than 80% of replacement plantings survive after the 2 years of monitoring.
And
That
excuse me, before you finish, I think there was yard waste too that they wanted.
I was, yep, just getting to that. The wood
Okay.
piles and the yard waste in the vegetated areas beyond the lawn be removed. And that that the restoration areas, as discussed, the lawn be scraped in those mitigation areas, rather, not restoration areas, mitigation areas. And then my final condition is that the homeowner meet with the conservation agent in advance of activity on the site to confirm the precise location of the additional mitigation area that we discussed, and the proposed location of the conservation markers and the removal of the materials that we discussed. That's my motion.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
And how do we vote? Dodge Shamrock, aye.
And DeCarlo, aye.
Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Okay.
Is that 100% complete?
Yes.
Okay,
I don't know what to say.
I don't know.
Good night.
That's
Yeah.
gotta be the record amount of time we've spent on a case, and we really tried, folks.
Thank you for your patience, everyone.
I'm sure the outcome will be positively beautiful. And how about you invite us all out in the spring so we can see it?
Throw that in as a condition as well.
No.
Nope, done. We're done. No more.
What? You're not up for the next one, are you? Oh, good.
No. All right.
No.
Thank you. I'm out of here.
No,
I'm
thank
outta
you.
here.
Yeah, thank you,
No.
Thor.
I'm
But
out.
we've seen you a lot this week.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Okay, folks. Next, we have a request for a certificate of compliance. An OOC 3070765, 333 Perkins Row, Lot A, Map 20, Lot 43, Berhane and Warren Cameron Group. Is there anyone here who can give us a rundown on it?
I don't think there's anyone here present, but I'll give a quick updates. This was
Okay.
an order of conditions for driveway and walkway and buffer zone to the wetland across the street. I visited the site and confirmed that everything looked good. The driveway was not exactly according to plan, but it was more similar to how the driveway used to be, and it seemed like it was not an issue. The silt fence was removed after I approved its removal. Substantial compliance with the plan, and I recommend issuing certificate of compliance.
Do I dare ask why it was not substantially compliant?
Oh, it was
I mean,
substantially
or
compliant.
why it varied, I guess. Yeah.
I said it was the driveway configuration is different.
Oh, but specifically how?
It was more similar to how the driveway used to be, so they didn't change it as much compared to prior condition is what I understood. I'm sorry, my Dropbox is not working, so I can't show photos.
Okay.
It's just
Okay.
endlessly loading, so I don't know. If anyone else wants to share the Dropbox folder, you're welcome to do so.
I'll work on bringing it up, but I'm willing to trust Jackie's interpretation here to keep things moving.
Good.
Somebody else want to make a
You
motion?
want to do a motion, Andrew?
Okay, I was pulling up the Dropbox.
Oh,
Hold on. Okay, I'll put this is for 333.
yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'll put forward a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for order of conditions number 307-0765 at 333 Perkins Row, Lot A, Map 20, Lot 43.
I'll second that motion.
And how do we vote? Dodge Shamrock, aye.
Jen DeCarlo, aye.
Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Good. Okay, next we have another request for a certificate of compliance, OOC 3070857 Salem Road, map 20, lot 5, the Cirillo family, and nominee trust number 1 and Thomas Manetti Incorporated. Is there anyone from?
So I was planning to speak on this one
Okay,
as
go
well.
ahead.
So this was for a septic system. I had visited in August and the grass had not grown in over the septic system. So I recommended they wait and see if the grass grew in and try again to plant it. I also realized that they had done their replacement tree plantings outside the buffer zone, which means we couldn't enforce their maintenance. So I asked them that they plant trees within the buffer zone as replacement for the apple trees they had removed for the septic system. They requested to do shrubs instead of trees, and I told them if it was 2-to-1 replacement, then that would be okay with me. So they planted blueberry bushes. I observed them today, and the blueberry bushes look good for now. So I'm recommending approval of this. Here's my, I don't think it's going to let me show, but the photo on my phone of the blueberry bushes.
There we go.
Yes, so those are their blueberry bushes. So now they are keeping those trees that are outside the buffer zone, which is great, but that just doesn't satisfy a requirement because we can't enforce them maintaining the tree replacements. It was just a mistake that they didn't realize the buffer zone didn't extend to that point. But they are eager to sell the house and they're closing in early November. So they are looking for a certificate of compliance.
Andrew, you feel like
Else?
motioning?
It's breaking.
Sure. I'll put forward a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for order of conditions number 307-0857 at 95 Salem Road, map 70, lot 005.
I second that motion.
And how do we vote? Dodge Shamrock, aye.
Jen DeCarlo, aye.
Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Good, well, the photos certainly looked beautiful, folks. I'm glad that it came out so well. Next, we have an RDNI 2025-20 for 22 Town Lane, map 33, lot 54. Rob Lee and Fritz to build a deck. And is there anyone here?
So I believe the applicant is here. I guess I'll introduce the project. So this is a deck that is partially within buffer zone. It's right on the edge of the buffer zone, straddling the border of where the buffer zone ends. The house is actually fully in between the wetland and the deck. So I anticipate that there would be no impact to the wetland area, and it's a very small amount in the buffer zone. So I think it's a negligible impact that I recommend issuing a determination of negligible impact for.
I'm attempting to pull up photos. Come on. Go back. Why is this? Sorry, everyone. 22 Town Road, RDNI. I don't know if this has photos.
I think the plan will show it best because you can see it
Okay.
from.
Share. Okay. I don't know how visible this is. It's best I can do.
No, that's all right. I can see it.
Yeah, so the road and the house are in between the wetland and the proposed deck. And then most of the deck is not even in the buffer zone, but it's barely in the buffer zone. So I thought we should at least review it and make sure they get formal approval of it, but I don't think it would impact the wetlands in this case.
How big is the deck or how much of it is in the buffer zone?
Half of it. I don't know what the
We don't
exact numbers are.
Does the applicant, Steve, are you there? Do you know how big the deck is? I don't know if it's in this application.
Yeah, my understanding was it's literally like the last 2 feet of the buffer zone, and so the deck is going to be about 25 feet across.
Excuse me, would you please identify yourself?
Sure, Steve Robley, 22 Town Lane. Should I repeat what I just said, or is that
That's okay.
sufficient? Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll add that to the RDNI saying that it's the dimensions of it, just so we're clear. I know you might have submitted it to the building department already, but I'll just make sure that's on file too.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good.
I think this meets the requirements of being negligible impact.
How does everyone else feel?
I agree with Andrew.
All right. So we can have a motion then?
It seems like it's minor.
Jen? Okay. I'll put forward a motion to issue a determination of negligible impact for RDNI 2025-20 at 22 Town Lane, map 33, lot 54, with standard conditions.
I'll second that.
And how do we vote? Todd Shamrock, aye.
Jen DiCarlo, aye.
Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
We all hope your deck comes out very, very good and that you enjoy it.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming. Next we have a request.
Thanks for staying.
What?
Thanks for staying.
Yes. Request for return to compliance letter. For an I can't think of the word right now. For an EO.
Enforcement order.
Yeah, I couldn't think of it. Isn't that crazy? 2022-03 for 242 Ipswich Road, map 21, lot 5, wetlands and land management LLC. And
Hi, Bill Manuel speaking on behalf of the owner, Max Flaherty. Some on the commission will recall there was an enforcement order. Max had began to rehabilitate his existing tennis court, and that resulted in an enforcement order and a subsequent order of conditions to complete that work. But the enforcement order was to restore 4 different areas. And if you don't mind, I'll share my screen. I'll be as brief as I can.
please, it was a long time ago.
Yes, I remember the site visit though, I think.
Yeah, I remember you wore shorts.
Yeah. So
and
the house
flip-flops.
is here, the tennis court's out back. There was a little shed, like a tennis court cabana area here. And this area got disturbed. It was kind of maintained as walking paths and probably was lawn at one point, but grew in. And I'm going to zoom in. So this was what we called Area 1 There was some pine trees removed. We call this area 2. There was an access path, a construction access path from the driveway out to the tennis court area. That was area 3. And then there was a little isolated wetland here that was impacted. That was called area 4. So area 1 and 2 have been complete since 2022, the fall of 2022. And I've given you 2 years of monitoring reports to document that. And area 3, the access path, we had to keep that open until the work on the, subsequent NOI, I recall, had a tennis house to be located in this old concrete pond area. That order of conditions is still open. There are other tasks to be completed on that, but we don't need the access road anymore. So that was sodded in and it has full grass coverage. So this is the second complete year that that's been done. And then the only thing that was open on this enforcement order was a second year of monitoring on this area 4, which was a small isolated pocket wetland. And so I visited that this fall. All of the nursery stock shrub that were installed 2 years ago have survived. It's nicely vegetated. And I included pictures of that with your with the submittal this fall. So that would conclude the requirements of the enforcement order, and we're asking for a return to compliance letter.
Not to belabor anything, but do you have any photos showing like the final state of things?
That's what I was
Jackie took,
thinking.
I had photos in my report, and Jackie,
Okay.
you took some.
Yeah.
Apparently your Google Drive isn't working.
My Dropbox, it's like the browser that I had the link in is all just not working. I'll try and refresh it again. But
I
Andrew, I
can
don't know
bring
if
some
you
stuff up.
had it. I think I put
Yeah,
photos in
240,
Dropbox.
242 Ipswich Road.
Yes.
All right.
This is
right.
not the one I was thinking of, but I've clearly remembered this.
If you could just stop sharing so that
yes,
I could.
I'll allow
Oh,
you
sorry.
to share.
No worries.
I'm allowing multiple people to share now.
Gotcha. Share. Okay. So here's a photo. Photos. Tell me to stop if anything needs more.
So that's area 4. That's the isolated wetland. The first one was area 1.
Go back. Okay, area 1.
That's area 1. That's been revegetated for 3 years. That's just no work was done over there.
So
Okay.
with area 1, sorry to interrupt, but weren't they going to put like a split rail fence? Are we okay? Like this is like probably de minimis compared to split rail. What is it, like granite?
Those are, you required, I think, 2 granite posts along that area, and there is probably about 12.
Okay. What, I don't recall the granite posts. I thought it was a split rail fence for some reason, but is it just it's literally just posts? Nothing
Right now it's just posts. I believe the requirement was posts. We do intend to probably put split rail, or put the rails in between the posts. But it's
This is not conservation posts. It's just literally granite posts.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then could you also,
Go ahead.
for the record?
Oh, you broke up, Andrew.
Oh, Max, you need to identify yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Max Flaherty, homeowner.
I don't have specific memory of the requirements there. Are there any conservation markers, like the actual little orange placards on any of those? Or did we not require those?
I don't believe there were.
No, I don't think there are.
I don't know if it was discussed at some point. We can look back into it. I'll look at the Dropbox.
Yeah, this area on the right of that, between the posts and the tennis court, that's the permitted 8-foot wide mowing strip. And I can't remember whether it was an amendment to the order of conditions or a discussion with Heidi that we were just going to put a line of granite posts here to demarcate the mowing area versus the area 1 restoration.
Yeah, so I'm looking, it said, in addition to any posts installed in lieu of a split rail fence, this is in the amended order, a minimum of 3 cedar posts, granite posts, or carcinite similar composition posts, with setback markers placed on top shall be installed along the existing limit of work. So I think we should add markers to them. I don't know how you attach those to granite, but at least to 3 of them, because 3 is what was required. But it looks like the amended order allowed posts installed instead of the split rail fence.
Yeah, we can epoxy that to the little tags to the granite.
Yeah, they're very minimal. They would be, I think, guesstimate they could sit up and wouldn't be. I'm sure, Bill, you know how they look.
Yep.
Like,
Wasn't there a playhouse or a shed or something at the end of that?
There used to be,
A long, yeah.
and that
tiki
was
hut.
demolished as
Mhm.
part of Area 1 mitigation.
Okay.
yeah, it was like right here, right?
Yeah, back at the,
No, it was
no, it was at the end
back
of it.
against those tall pine trees.
Yeah,
Oh
Yeah.
yes, there was another like pump house here though,
right,
or is that
exactly. Some kind of a toy.
You're absolutely right, and that's where the subsequent order of conditions, which permitted the tennis house, that replaced it was like a big concrete fountain area, if you will, and that's
Yes.
shown on the restoration plan.
Yep.
With a, your memory is correct, it was a big concrete water garden feature with a pump house. So it had
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure what it was, but I was positive there was something there.
we called it the bomb shelter when I was a kid. But it was
let's see, any other photos to go through, Jackie?
That would be, you're looking at area 3 there. That's the former construction access road, which is now obviously there's no trace of it.
Okay.
Great.
Some plans, but I think with the addition of those conservation markers, it sounds like things are pretty much where we need them to be.
That was a big project. Nice job.
Max, it's a tremendous improvement.
Thank you very much.
Yep, night and day.
Yeah.
I can happy to make a motion to, I guess the only thing is it'll just have a little asterisk in it that they have to put those, it's 3 conservation markers. So if they could provide maybe proof to us within, let's say, 14 days, something like that, photographs.
Can I ask a quick question? If we don't mind, and I don't mind putting them on the granite, but on that, could we put cedar ones and put them on cedar? Is that fine to?
Yeah,
build
if you want to
up
add more posts, you can do cedar posts.
as opposed to gluing them to the granite? But yeah, cool.
That's fine with me.
So are we okay with like, so are you going to put a fence where those granite? You might put like a fence or something between it?
We might, the brackets to put the 4x4s on granite are $40 a piece, and I need like 100 of them. So we talked about that with Heidi, I think 2 or 3 years ago, and we'd love to,
Yeah.
maybe.
So I guess the only issue is just where those cedar things need to be, because it's sort of a moving target. So, I mean, if it's in that general vicinity of the.
Yeah, I think we can leave that to Jackie and the homeowner to discuss.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
And then and I don't think this is your intention, but just for that, the fencing, if you do put it up, just that it doesn't inhibit wildlife transfer underneath the rails. I think we usually say 6 inches, leave from the bottom.
And we'd be we'd be probably.
Okay, great. Yep, just for clarity's sake.
Yep, understood.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we issue a return to compliance letter for enforcement order number 2022-03 involving 242 Ipswich Road, that's map 21 lot 5, with the just minor condition that the homeowner install 3 conservation markers at the property, and to consult with the conservation agent on the exact location, and to provide proof once they're installed by photograph that can be emailed to her.
I'll second that
Second the
motion.
motion.
What?
I
second
second
it.
that motion.
Oh, sorry, I didn't finish. Sorry, Jim, I tuned out. I didn't think you'd finished your whole motion.
No, I think it's been motioned and seconded and third and fourth.
All right. Who votes
Seconded.
aye? All right. How do we vote? Dodd Shamroth, aye.
Jen DeCarlo, aye.
Angela Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
It's a huge, huge, huge improvement in your property, Max. It looks really good.
Thank you very much. And hopefully by next year, I'll be back to close out the NOI. We got a couple more things to budget.
Oh, boy.
Nice.
All right,
Have a
thank
good
you.
winter.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, now we have another enforcement order, 30 Canterbury Hill Road, map 19, lot 67. We're discussing an enforcement order. This is the one where I recluse myself, and I'm going to do the same thing again. So someone else want to take over?
Jen will take over as vice chair to be the chair, but I'm happy to speak on this if you're ready for that.
Sure.
Yeah, let's so this is enforcement in connection with 30 Canterbury Hill Road, map 19 lot 67. Just why don't you bring us up to speed, Jackie?
Yeah, so this we discussed at the last meeting, but we didn't have a quorum, or no, we might have discussed it a few meetings ago. But I think at the last meeting we didn't have a quorum to issue the enforcement order because we had one recusal and one absence and one open seat on the commission, so that led to no quorum. We had discussed previously the need to issue an enforcement order because of the retaining wall that was built within the buffer zone without a permit. Originally, the plan had been approved by Heidi showing the retaining wall outside the buffer zone, but then it ended up being built within the buffer zone. And then when the stormwater plan was submitted, we realized that it was within the buffer zone. Trees were removed for the retaining wall to be built within the outer 10 feet of the buffer zone. I sent a violation notice, and we discussed that this work does not meet the criteria for allowable buffer zone alteration because it was not within existing disturbed area. So it would definitely require a waiver if they were to apply for an after the fact notice of intent. I visited the site and reviewed the delineation. I decided I agreed with it, that the retaining wall is within the buffer zone. And I also requested that the homeowner repair the silt fence. I discussed that they could potentially pursue an after the fact permit, but the commission may decide not to allow it. But I recommend at this point that we issue an enforcement order requiring that they either submit an after the fact permit or submit a restoration plan to return it to prior condition. So those are two options, but something needs to be submitted to us. And I think the commission can discuss the deadline, but I know the applicant's representative has already reached out to me, and he's here on the call, and said that the notice of intent for the after the fact approval should be submitted by the deadline of October 29th. So I think if we want to give that deadline, I think we should give a deadline requiring that we get some plan for moving forward. And then at the point that we consider an after the fact notice of intent, if it is approved, then that could solve this problem. If it's not approved, then we'd have to go back and consider if any restoration is required. So Andrew, I don't know if I'm Andrew Tebow. I don't know if you wanted to talk about this, or say anything else.
Yes, absolutely, Jackie. Thank you for the update in the intro. So just for the commission's records, my name is Andrew Tebow. I'm a wetland scientist with Goddard Consulting. So I'm just here tonight to kind of give the commission a brief update. So first of all, the commission has a nice recording policy, so thank you. I've watched the last couple meetings back to see where this was discussed and sort of what has been reviewed, the work that occurred, sort of the after the fact idea that was floated around. And so we have now been brought on by the homeowner. I was actually out on site last week. I took a look at the property. I agree with Jackie. I agree with wetland delineation. And so what I did out there is I took a look at the property. I met with the homeowner and we had discussed some options for mitigation, sort of steps to bring this forward that may come forward with a notice of intent that would bring this under into compliance with your bylaw. So our intent is certainly to file a notice of intent by that October 29th deadline. I just wanted to come tonight, introduce myself, and let the commission know that that's the plan and that the homeowner has brought on a wetland scientist. I find it helpful for the commission to know that things are being addressed and to put a plan in place. So that's our intent, is certainly to hit that deadline, and we will be filing an after the fact notice of intent, but we will be looking for mitigation measures that would help bring this into compliance with your bylaw.
That's great. Thank you so much for the update, and it sounds positive. Any other discussion from anybody else? It sounds like we sort of have a plan.
I think Maureen was out for the last meeting where we had some pretty significant discussion. I guess I'll just ask her if there's any pieces of this that you're, would like more information on. I feel pretty comfortable putting the enforcement order out with a deadline of our, submission date for the next meeting, which sounds like that's what the intention is. So as long as that's okay with them, but I think Maureen is the person that potentially will need more information here.
Right. So there seem to be multiple issues here. One is the silt fence, and then the restoration plan, and then kind of kind of the scoping of the enforcement order, removal of trees, placement of the retaining wall. I don't know. I was sick during the last meeting and I didn't participate. And thank you, Andrew. I probably should have watched the video. Thanks for the hint, Andrew. Probably
Yeah.
should have watched that video.
No, I didn't mean that. I wanted to
No.
make sure that you had all the info, and I apologize.
I was talking about the other
there.
Andrew.
Oh.
I did have
Andrew
you on the
T was
recording.
like, "Oh, I was able to get up to speed because I watched the video." I'm like, "That was a good idea." I did
didn't mean to
not.
throw you under the bus. I'm sorry. I threw you under the
That's
bus
okay.
on that.
No, you didn't. So I think I don't have any questions. I just want to better understand the scope of the enforcement order, which is the commissioner question and not a consultant or homeowner question.
So the enforcement order would be concerning removal of trees and construction of a retaining wall, and associated grading within the buffer zone,
That all seems.
or maybe removal of vegetation in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah, it sounds good. I mean, I think it's the notice of intent is going to get this thing over the hump. The enforcement order is, not really just a formality, but obviously in this case where we anticipate the notice of intent, it is just, to try to at least close the loop on that part of the process. So, no offense intended. It's something we just have to do. I'm assuming that we'll vote to issue that. Do you have any questions, Mr. Tebow?
Nope. That's a typical way we handle these types of items. Is it's an administrative step we have to take, and with us coming tonight, it's our intent to submit that for your next deadline. So it's fine to list that date out. It's fine to issue it, and then we look forward to working with you guys on the application itself.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Does anybody have want to bring a motion on this matter?
I can put forward a motion to issue an enforcement order for 30 Canterbury Hill Road, map 19, lot 67, requiring a silt fence to be maintained at the limit of work, and the applicant to submit either a restoration plan to restore the area within the buffer zone to prior condition, or an after the fact notice of intent application by the deadline of October 29th, 2025.
All right. And how do we vote? Jen DiCarlo. Oh, sorry.
I second the motion.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Thank you. It's
Sorry.
getting late. It's been seconded. How do we vote? Jen DiCarlo, aye.
Andrew Mulholland, aye. Sorry, I cut out.
Maureen Brescian, aye.
All right, great. Thank you. We look forward to receiving your notice of intent application or restoration plan, and obviously appreciate your compliance with the enforcement order.
Absolutely. Thank you all for your time tonight.
Thank you very much again from me too.
Absolutely. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Good night.
Next, we have an enforcement order, 38 Candlewood Drive, map 43, lot 2, for a status update. Would
Yeah,
that
so
be-
quick update, no action needed, but I visited the site for a TCAP unrelated to this, which is an administrative permit for work in the buffer zone. It was like an extremely minor, like they were expanding their roof overhang, and it went like 2 feet into the buffer zone at the corner or something over existing or over patio that was previously approved. So I approved that TCAP application. And while I was there, I took a look at their restoration area that's in progress. The slope where the fill had been removed from their enforcement order had some grass starting to grow on it. But I noticed that they had used um, fine plastic netting to stabilize the slope, which we had previously discussed using jute netting because that is biodegradable. And so I asked them to remove the plastic netting as much as possible. And then if any stabilization is needed, to use natural materials going forward. I just thought if we need to remove it while the grass is still small because it's going to become increasingly difficult to remove, and it probably will prevent the growth of larger plants, which are crucial to restoring that steep slope and making sure that it eventually is restored to larger plants than just grass so that their roots can help keep the soil in place.
Yeah.
So
And just to
that's
confirm,
just
oh, sorry.
that's just my update, but go ahead.
This is the super steep slope that had yard waste and is sort of behind a fence, right?
Yes, so they had finished removing the yard waste and they planted a grass seed mix, but it was just the netting that I had an issue with, but hopefully we can resolve that soon.
Okay. So do we need to act on this, or is your telling them sufficient?
I think for now, me telling them should be sufficient. I mean, if they don't comply with it, then we can proceed further, but I think for now, they seemed fine with it.
Okay. Because I do remember the actual like words we used. I think we required that it was like a decomposable jute netting, right?
Yeah, I thought we did, but
Okay. So I
think
don't
that was
think we need to update
misinterpreted,
anything.
but I think it should be fixable.
Okey-dokey.
Okay.
Next,
Yeah.
about the SAR letter.
Oh, the SCAR letter.
SCAR
Yeah,
letter.
same as last time. I don't know if anyone had had a chance to review it since then.
No.
I have
If we're having a special meeting to discuss stuff, should we just put some time on that agenda to give that an actual discussion versus trying to hash stuff out tonight? I'm not, we can talk about it tonight. I'm just,
You're wide awake, right, aren't you?
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. So we can set up a special meeting sometime between now and the next meeting to discuss the regulation and this.
yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, and next we have all the amendment orders from John's Lane.
Yeah, so I think Ray Lawton was planning on coming. I don't know if you've waited this long, if you're here, but
I'm still here.
great. Thank you for being patient with us.
Yeah, no
Um,
worries. I was falling asleep, but
Yeah, so do you want to give an introduction of how the work is going so far?
yeah, okay. So Ray Lawton from Johns Lane, and it's going good now. So we're drawing attention to the bridge now. We've got the footings in, and we're starting to set up the walls. And once we get the walls up, then we'll remove the material that was filled in between it, and then we'll put the bridge in. So it's going really well. I think it's going to look really nice, and bring it back to its natural state. I did tell Jackie. I sent her an email a couple weeks ago that I wanted to raise the bridge. We're just going to raise it like 3 feet just so we could get underneath the bridge because it was after the design, it was only a couple feet under the bridge. I just felt like we couldn't maintain it. We ended up only raising the bridge like 14 inches because now we have like 4 feet or something like that underneath there. So that's adequate to be able to maintain the bridge. So that really didn't change any of the pitches of the riprap around the bridge.
Okay.
So other than that, it's all looking good, and it's gonna come out really nice.
Okay, so that was yeah, that was my main question was about the riprap and mainly underneath the bridge because
Yeah.
so the revised plan that I received, I think I shared with the commission in Dropbox, but the revised plan showed under the bridge that it would be like a smaller channel for the wetland.
Yeah.
Um,
We didn't
so
go up that high, so that won't be affected.
okay,
It'll be
so
the same as it was in the original plan.
okay, so that's good. Much easier if we can stick closer to the original plan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I think we should do a follow-up site visit soon, I think, to see what it's looking like.
Sure.
And then I don't know if the commission had any other questions on that before we move on to the filing fee question related to the RDA that's for the other enforcement order.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Okay. The other question was from the consultant, DeRosa Environmental, had reached out to me asking about the RDA. So the RDA is for the proposed paving of the driveway. Um, I don't know if I brought this up to the commission before. Um, so we have an enforcement order that we've discussed before that's for the driveway area where there was some grading around the driveway that is used to enter the property. Um, I think there was previously um, maybe thoughts about making a cul-de-sac in that area, which is why it had been graded. And then I think Heidi had recognized that that needed to be restored because the grading was within the buffer zone along the edges of the driveway. So that's under the enforcement order. And then Ray had asked to pave the driveway, but that would not be able to fall within the enforcement order because it's not a restoration. So I let him and Mike DeRosa know that it would need an RDA. And it sounds like they're in process of filing the RDA, but they asked the following question. I'll read word for word. So we're working on an RDA for the proposed paving at 21 Johns Lane, and I wanted to check in about the filing fees. The total paving area within the buffer zone is about 7,560 square feet, which would calculate to a fee of 1,890 based on 0.25 or 25 cents per square foot of alteration. Since the areas proposed for paving are already gravel, I wasn't sure if the fee calculation includes land that has already been altered or if the minimum fee of 100 would apply in this case. So I thought I'd ask the commission how you would interpret that fee. I remember for the last driveway project, that was an RDA. I charged by the square footage. But Abby from DeRosa was not sure if that's how it should be interpreted, so I thought I'd ask the commission what you all think.
What have we done before?
So that the last one, I charged it by square footage because that's how I read how I read the regs at that time. But I don't know if
So I think that our fee calculation form, I'm sharing it,
yes, thank you, Maureen.
speaks to this. Says where resource areas overlap, the higher fee shall be due. Minimum 100. So it seems to me that, you know, it's in the buffer zone, right? So 25 cents per square foot in the buffer zone, and he's wanting to know whether the proposed area for paving is already gravel, and if the fee calculations include land that's already been altered, can we apply the minimum $100 fee? I think the form kind of speaks to it.
I think it's $100 minimum is what you're gonna pay, but I don't think it's an alternate. I think it's based on the square footage, right?
Right. No,
Yeah,
but like,
I think the question is whether it is considered altering the resource area if that area has already been altered with a different form of driveway.
but was there a separate request for determination for that alteration? And it's a subsequent alteration. If we have to give him approval to go from gravel to pavement, then it's a new RDA, and the calculation is 25 cents per square foot.
I don't mind paying the 25. I don't know why Mike even asked that. If that's what the calculation is, I'm fine with that.
I think he's just like an opportunity to save a couple grand. Let's when in doubt, ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It
You
seemed
know?
like it. I mean, it was Abby, Mike's employee, and
No, she's
Yeah.
really nice. She's really
yeah.
good.
No,
So
when in doubt, ask.
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, she was
That
trying to
was-
help you out, but
Yeah, no, I
um,
get it. No, I get
yeah.
it. It's
I don't think this is a gray area question.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if we have jurisdiction over it, then it's buffer zone.
No, it is in the
Is
buffer
currently
zone.
on it. I think that's the way that I interpret that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
whatever's on top of it, it's still buffer zone.
Yeah.
But anyway,
It's always been a road through there for 100 years, but it's but that's fine. I'll just tell Mike to pay the fee. Not an issue.
Yeah. Well, it helps me answer that question if anyone else asks in the future. So
Is that it?
yeah, I think let's plan on doing a site visit sometime soon because I know the bridge work is going on. Make sure that's all.
If you want to
That-
see the walls up, if you come we'll probably pour the walls maybe the end of next week, the beginning of the following. So if you want to see the walls, maybe you come the following week, you'll be able to at least see them if you want to see that part of it.
Okay.
Or you can come anytime. I don't really care when you come, but that's like a timeline there, I'd say, as far as what will be done.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would be good for if any commissioners are available to get some eyes on it so you all see what's going on along with me. Just because I know there's so many enforcement orders here to keep track of.
Yep.
Be good to.
That's why I said all the enforcement orders.
As soon as the bridge is done, and it's done and completed, then behind my house there, I'll take out all those stones and I'll put all the grass and the plantings and all that. I'll do that right away as soon as it's. So the next few weeks, so I'll have it done before your next meeting.
Okay, yeah, maybe once that's done is when we should do the site visit because then we can confirm if it's all set.
Yeah, because I'm going to do it all behind the house. I'm going to get all that done this year, like I said. So we're working really hard on it right now. So
Okay.
If it
So how
stops
about-
raining, it'll be good.
How about if you let me know as soon as that's done, and then we can take a look at it before the meeting, and then we'll have a better idea of what it looks like as we go into that meeting.
Okay. All right.
Great.
Sounds good.
You all set then? I'm gonna go to bed.
So, okay. Yeah.
Thanks for sitting through all of that.
Aren't we
I
all?
appreciate it.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Okay.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you. Good night now.
Right.
Okay. Ben, did we chase you off yet?
No.
Good.
Okay.
Oh, do we
I
want to put the minutes
think-
on our special meeting too?
Sure.
Because I think we need to get to those soon. We've been putting them off too long.
Yeah.
We owe it to the public to have our minutes posted.
Yeah.
So-
Are the recordings immediately posted?
Not immediately, but I think the minutes is more accessible to people to be able to look up information rather than watching the whole recording.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
Oh,
fair
for
enough.
sure.
But
Yeah,
we're,
so-
it sounds like the consultant that was on was able to watch things from the past couple meetings. So it's at least out there. It's not like we're a black
yeah,
box.
yeah. But I would like it because after this meeting, we'll have 5 meetings worth of minutes.
I absolutely.
Is there any
Yeah,
reason?
it's time to get caught up.
Oh, so people still have to get caught up on them? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So how about
Any
we-
reason not to do it now? Have people
I'm-
not read them?
I'm fine
Yeah.
with them.
Yeah, I read them. I'm
Let's
fine.
let's
Okay.
put that as homework before the special meeting
No,
to read
I
the minutes.
think we're okay. Are we ready? Why don't we just?
I have
I
to
thought-
abstain from the first couple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think
Because
there's
I'll
enough.
kick the can down the road. Okay.
Let's put it for the special meeting though, because if we're already doing that, homework for you all to read it.
Yep.
Read the old minutes before the special meeting. If anyone doesn't have them, just email me and I'll send them to you again.
I wasn't back then for the first couple.
Yeah, right. So Todd's, I mean, I think you are allowed to vote to approve minutes that you were not present for.
Oh, really?
But if you're
yes, you
comfortable, you can
technically are allowed
recruit.
to, but it's up to
Yeah.
you if you feel comfortable doing so.
I
Some
think we
people
should
will
have 3
watch
people per
the
meeting. So
recording.
Right.
Yeah.
Pardon? But Andrew?
we'll have 3 people per meeting, so we'll be
Yeah.
able to vote on
Yeah,
it. I
yeah.
just don't want to
Okay.
go one by
Yeah.
one right now.
Yeah. All right. Should
Okay.
we have a motion to end the meeting?
I think the only other thing was just the I don't know, Jackie, are you planning to go to Topsfield Fair to check out the damage, I guess, from the
Yeah, so I think Greg had asked to set up a meeting and asked if you and Dodds wanted
I'm
to.
not available this week, Jackie. I'm out
Okay.
of town.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe
The week after I could.
maybe we can suggest the week after. If you'd like to, I think it would be good because if you were there during the fair, or you all were keeping up with the reports at least during the fair.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah, and it seemed like they chained off most of it off for the duration. So I mean, it probably makes sense to do kind of like a post-fair site visit. So we could try to do it next week. But obviously try to do it at a time that's convenient for Greg because he's probably no longer, on site all the time.
Yeah. I
So-
attended the fair a couple times and looked around. I didn't see anything that looked egregious.
Yeah.
There is a sort of a stream that runs through a section of it that was looking really, really gross. So I do want to bring that up at some point, but I'm not sure that that's it. I don't want to spend any time on it right now, but at some point I do want to talk about that.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I didn't have anything else to report. So I think that's, I mean, did anyone else have anything to bring up?
No. I'll make a motion that we close the meeting.
I'll
I'll
second
second that motion.
And how do we vote?
Okay, hold on.
Andrew
who's
seconds that
seconding?
motion. Andrew seconds that motion.
Todd Shamroth. Aye.
Jen DeCarlo, aye.
Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.